Alright, here we are. We're back at it again with the tutorial. We're going to finish things off today, day 3. We left off with frozen meal last time, which we showed off a really good amount of frozen meal. I feel pretty happy with how that went. But now we have Luna Sola. Luna Sola is one of the planets that we're just going to go in and leave early, because we already completed frozen meal all the way through. Whether you complete all the way through or you do that alternative route where you go to the secret exit with the lost turtles, either of those finishes will clear this level with a completed flag here on the side, and that means that it'll unlock Cannon Brawl or Orbital next. What's interesting to note here is that this is the only nebula that has multiple branching levels. So every nebula usually has the first level be required, and then after that first level it opens up 2 levels that you have a choice to pick from to complete. But for this nebula, once you complete one of these levels, it splits up into a second branching path. So from after completing frozen meal, it unlocks Cannon and Orbital, or once you complete Luna, it opens up Cannon and Orbital, and then you only need to beat either Cannon or Orbital in order to get to the boss. In the first month of the route, we actually opted for going for Cannon Brawl first, instead of Orbital. So, and we would get like 5 of the bots in Cannon and finish it out, but Orbital is a little bit faster than Cannon, and we get all the bots in it. But for Luna Sola, we're gonna do Luna Sola first. You could technically do Orbital if you want right now, but we're gonna do Luna Sola first. And we're just gonna go until we get 5 bots. The first 5 bots are really fast. You would have to play an extra like 1.5 to 2 minutes in order to get the other bots and finish the level. So that's why we're not gonna go through it all completely, but yeah. Give me 1 second. Alright, I'm back. So Luna Sola, again, hold the triggers to blast it as quick as possible. So this first bot's gonna be right in here. You can just go in here, use a attack here to go through this wall. There is a small optimization that you can do here, if you're willing to risk it for the biscuits. But you can go around here to just hit the bots. And then after you get the bot here, you can go around this way and just land up here, which it's not that risky, but you know, it only saves like 1/4 or half a second. I think it's more like 1/2 second, something like that, to instantly go around this way, instead of kind of like going back in the way that you came in. Something else to note is that if you do just the first half of this to go around and break the bot here, that wall instantly breaks. What I do, I just ignore all of that. It's my preference to just go straight through this wall, break it, get the bot, and then come this way, jump over these little flowers, and then jump halfway onto this rail grind right here. But again, that's not what's most optimal. If you want to save a half second or second, I don't know what the time difference is exactly, but just know that you can do a slightly more direct path by going around here, hitting the bot here, and then jumping off the edge here onto this block here, and then jumping off here. You might be wondering if it's worth going a little bit more left to hit this beginning of this rail grind, because you do pick up a little bit more speed on the rail grind than if you're just you know, off the rail grind, like just sprinting, or you're just like jumping in the air. You gain a little bit more speed when you're on the rail grind. So you might be thinking, oh, wouldn't it be worth it to take a little bit of a non-direct path to make sure we get on the rail grind at the start? But actually, it doesn't. It is actually slightly faster to just make a direct path here. So instead of doing this, do the start of that, you can just jump over to halfway through the rail grind, and that should be a little bit more, just slightly faster, like that. Something to note about this rail grind also is that since you do have a speed boost going off of it, you can just like hold the hover as you get off the end here. After Astro does an automatic jump at the end here, you can just hover and carry over that speed boost a little bit like that. It's a small speed boost, but it is worth noting that it's worth doing that. Doing a hover about right there, and then cutting the corner over to that moon symbol to change from day to night. Okay, so here we go. Change from day to night. Something to know about these symbols here, that the world flips literally from 90 degrees over, left and right. So there's a little bit of interesting little tech that you can, along with whenever you flip these levels. So you can kind of note like where Astro is when you're flipping. Sometimes like some parts of these levels will change drastically, like this part of the level will be like 10-20 meters from its original spot, but things that are like more closer to this corner will like not move at all. Okay, like it'll only move a half a meter relative to its old spot during the flip. So just know that some of these spots drastically flip and change faster than other areas. So that means that sometimes you can take advantage of that to have them launch you in the sky, or for you to kind of like jump away from them and grab something that's higher than it's intended for you to get. Because like if you hit this, and when you hit the button, if it's like higher, like let me try to draw this out. When I hit this button right here, like I've jumped from here to here, but after I press this button, the floor is no longer on this level, it ends up being like down here. So I can jump into this button while in night form, and then hover after I hit this button, and the whole level changes. I'm able to access more areas up here than I would normally be able to in the other side of the world here, you see? So like this tree, for example, think about that. If I do something like that, you see I can almost reach the top of that tree, but right here it's like I can barely reach the bottom of that of the leaf part of that tree. But like this, I can almost reach the top, you see? So you can get a little bit of extra height by taking advantage of that. We have one trick later that's going to take advantage of that, but for right now, just keep that in mind. One other thing that is worth noting, just real fast, is that you can go from one button press to the other pretty much instantly. So I can do something like this. Well, maybe not something like that, but something like this. Now, I don't know if you can do it like this one, but sometimes you can do this weird chain where you like instantly go back and forth with these buttons within milliseconds, and it just like spams back and forth between levels. Not really worth no like time save with that particularly, but it's something that might be worth glitch hunting and seeing if there's any stuff with that. But just wanted to mention that. Now we're gonna move on. Just kill that purple enemy. Something with this bot is that once you kill this purple enemy, you can't hit this bot immediately. You're gonna have to wait a half a second or like hit it from the back. Or that's typically how I have to do it, is have to hit it from the back. So be wary that if you're running straight into this bot and you try to punch it, it might not activate right away, and then you might come to a complete stall because you're running straight into the bot and you might lose your sprint speed. So try to run like kind of around the bot until it does activate, and you can punch it, okay? So up here, we're gonna do a little skip. So there's usually blocks that break here. more blocks, like we have these 2 blocks, but there's usually a lot more blocks, and you can use these blocks to get up here. You don't even need to do the ledge grab, you should just be able to get up here without a problem. But yeah, that's one way of getting up here instead of pulling that yarn. I use this method of climbing on this thing right here, and then I climb on this block right here. Let me clear these enemies. I jump on this block right here. I'm trying to show this off. Oh. This block you can stand on. You can't stand on these blocks over here, but you can stand on that one on the left. Now, you should just be able to have enough height to ledge guard here, or just completely clear it like this. Maybe not like that, hold on. Like this. Nope. You can clear this all the way without ledge guarding. Oh, I just want that to be shown. Yeah, like that. So you can clear that completely. But if you want something that's a little bit less risky, since there's a pitfall here, you can just climb on the blocks here. Although it is a little bit random how the blocks will stack up. I'm going to restart the level just so that I can show how things flow naturally here. I'm going to pause the recording until I get back to where I was. Hello, Sadikio. Okay, so we're back here, going into nighttime. So you see the blocks right here? This is what it looks like when they fall. So you can like kill this glob, get the bot here, and then you could jump on these blocks like right here to go all the way up there, okay? Now, I don't want to go up there yet because I didn't want to show how I deal with these enemies. Every runner kind of deals with this next area a little bit differently. I've seen some people ignore the enemies completely. I've seen people go for the enemies right away, get the light bulb, and then climb on the top triangle part up here, and then go to the spot that you're supposed to save over there. The way that I approach it, and what I think is the fastest way of doing it, although all of these methods that you would see are going to be very, very close. The way that I do it is I go and kill the bots that spawn here immediately. Then I go up to the top to spawn the ghost. And then I fall down to grab the yarn with the explosive and then throw the explosive at the ghost from down on the base level here. And that will, if you throw the explosive at the ghost, it'll automatically put you at the top where, like back at top where you collect the bot. Give me 1 second. I need to pause the recording for a second. Okay, sorry about that. Ollie was chewing on something that he wasn't supposed to be. Okay, back to the recording. Okay, I'm back. So, like I was saying, I'm going to show off how I do this part where we kill the enemies first, then we go up to spawn the ghost, and then we go back to get the explosive and throw the explosive at the ghost. So something like this. Okay, and when you do that right, you should have your sprint speed carried over, and you can use that sprint speed to go over here, and then you go to get this bot. So that's a lot of stuff all at once. I'm gonna restart the level. to make sure I have that recording saved so I can go back and show people what it's like. Okay, so we're back here. So I kind of want to show real fast just what I did before I show it again, because now that I've collected the bots, I can't show exactly, I can't show this again in the same form. It won't work the exact same way, because you need this bot, you have to have this bot uncollected in order to utilize the fact that it'll take you back to the top here. But you see, like, I can kill that ghost at any point, and whenever that ghost is hit and dies, it'll put you back on this square up here. Okay? And it's very important, that you keep your sprint speed, or that you have sprint speed when you throw the light at the ghost, because then if you have sprint speed, you can jump from here all the way to over here. So that you can skip having to go all the way over here and climb up here, which is not like a big time save, but it definitely saves like a good 4 or 5 seconds probably. So I would recommend practicing getting your sprint speed up before you kill the ghost, which normally for me, sometimes you can lose your sprint speed trying to go up on the triangle here, right here. For this triangle, when you're trying to like kind of go up it, again, like we've shown before, you're trying to use the slope that's right here-ish to try to give you a little bit extra height than what you normally get out of a glide by just like gliding into a steep slope. Also take note that these blocks over here are raised a little bit higher than all the others, so jumping from that will allow this trick to be easier, but it's not required. If you have trouble getting up here, know that the alternative route is over here, which you don't even need the light bulb to really go over here. It's just kind of like go up over here, jump up once, and then go up all the way to up here. And that only adds like an extra second or two to the route. And it shouldn't be too hard to memorize without the light bulb if you don't want to use the light bulb. But do know that you do need a light bulb in order to kill the ghost. So I would recommend getting the light bulb if you take the safer alternative path around, because you'll definitely be sure to build up sprint speed if you take that route. Something that I don't like sometimes about getting the light bulb first and then using it to climb up here is, well, one, you don't have a spin stall to help you get up here and get a little bit of extra height in case you need it. And the other reason is sometimes I'm like right on the cusp of not getting my sprint speed, or I lose my sprint speed trying to turn from up here, like going from here and then turning this way drastically. So if you do get the light bulb and then come up here, make sure that you curve around here. Don't drastically turn here so you don't lose your sprint speed. But anyways, for my method, at least, again, like we started with killing these enemies. I didn't kill the enemies as well as I wanted to here. The ideal way that I think you should kill these enemies is just punch the two purple front enemies first, but then hover on the red enemy. The red enemy will charge at you pretty fast, so you can either wait for it to charge into you, or you can just preemptively run and glide above it before it has a chance to move, then come to run up here. But yeah, know that the squares that you need to land on are kind of like right here. Remember that you can use the glide power up to, you can see that it's right here, that it's showing the invisible floor below you. So if you're having a problem with memorizing where these floors are, you can use that glide, the jet boots, as a way to figure out if there's floor beneath you or not before you land. But anyways, we're gonna continue. When you get to this last square, roughly right here, it's gonna spawn this ghost. As soon as you spawn this ghost, you can fall off and go grab the yarn. It's worth knowing that sometimes you can lose your speed when you grab the yarn, so try to go at it at the yarn directly, and don't try to pull back until after you know that you've pulled the yarn back, or that you're starting to pull the yarn back, okay? So to show all this again, do that jump there, then turn back this way, grab the yarn. You have to be a little bit fast with the ghost. Sometimes it might be worth, you might prefer the other method in case these projectiles shoot at you fast. What you might be able to do is, instead of jumping this direction like I did, after you spawn the ghost, you might be able to jump this way to the right side of these blocks that are directly above me right now, and then going left into the yarn and pulling the yarn to the left. That way these projectiles will kind of like be flowing in this direction instead of flowing right into you where you're pulling the yarn. So that's something that I should have adjusted when I did this, but I got the light bulb. Then I'm just gonna go over here to where that red spiky enemy spawned, throw it, and it's gonna send me directly up there. And then, like I said, if you use sprint speed, you can directly jump out of that, use a spin stall, and then kind of you can ledge guard right at the end there. Sometimes you can make it all the way without ledge guarding, but the majority of the time you probably will ledge guard. Just remember to deactivate your jet boots before you reach the ledge, and then and you should automatically ledge guard. Aim for this block right here. Don't aim for the left block. This block, this ledge right here, seems to be very lenient. Both of them you can, but I always like to aim for that right block. It seems pretty lenient as long as I can get relatively close to it. But yeah, this next trick up here, well, hold on. Before I go into the next trick, I should show off real fast. I'll show off, well, first, this is how you defeat the enemies correctly. Kind of like that is what I intended. And you'll see you can't really practice this too well, because if I destroy the ghost and I've already gotten the bot, like it's only a coin, then I don't get teleported back up there. So, but you can just kind of pretend in practice that you have got teleported up here, and pretend to practice with sprint speed from this spot right here, and you can just do something like that. So I wanted to show the alternative path here before we show the next trick. So if you do fail that jump and you respawn here, there is a checkpoint here that you can miss, I would say, or that you can kind of mess up, and it kind of spawns you in the other world and kills you infinitely and forces you to restart checkpoints. So make sure you get this checkpoint while you're in nighttime, and that you try to get it, or be aware that sometimes you could miss it if after that jump. But yeah, if you die going for that jump, you'll respawn here, and this is the normal path that you could take as a recovery. You just jump over those two platforms and jump up these, do a jump up that ladder without, you know, jump on the ladder once you grab hold of it instead of climbing it fully. But it's a short ladder, so it doesn't matter too much. And then you just jump from this block. You could jump from the ladder directly to this, but it doesn't matter too much. You will want to line up your jump when you get here, so you're not going to just want to take the most direct path to this button. You'll want to make sure that you land on this platform no matter what angle you come at it. You want to land on this platform for a second, or it doesn't matter how long. You're just trying to prep yourself to jump before you press this button so that you can utilize the world shifting 90 degrees and giving yourself extra height, like I showed a little bit earlier at the beginning of the level. Utilizing that to get up to a bot instantly. Something like this. You would basically, once you get your feet on the ground here, you kind of position yourself, you jump up at the peak of your jump without using any spin stalling or any hover boots. You just do a regular long jump, high jump, and then you spin at the peak of your jump, and then you're going to instantly activate your jet boots and hold away from the wall, okay? You're going to hold away from the wall. I would recommend holding away and a little bit back, like back in the direction that you came from, because if you hold just directly to the right, you'll run into a extended wall, but there's a little bit of an opening if you curve back in the way that you came. So something like this. Oh, I fell. Hold on, give me a second. Sorry. Okay, so something like this. And so you're trying to, I say move back a little bit so you don't run into this wall right here. And this bot is just right there. If you fail this jump, it's just as simple as waiting on these elevators to go up. And then you can jump off this one before it even rises. So that only like adds like an extra 4 or 5 seconds maybe if you fail this, but yeah, obviously doing that one looks cool and it saves you 5 seconds, so worth practicing that. You don't have to do it the way that I explained it, where you jump up, spin, and then hover over. There is ways where you can spin from the ground first and then you jump away and hover. But I find the method easiest when I jump, spin, and then hover in the opposite direction. So yeah, let me show this one more time from up here. So you should have sprint speed when you jump up from here. You can do a spin stall, hover boots, grab this. Once you grab up here and you're running on the ground, do a high jump, spin, hover boot in this direction. If you fail like that, you can just go up these blocks. Just, you know, it depends on the cycle they are on to determine how much time you'll save or lose. And also know that since these are elevators, you can utilize a little bit of jumping off them to get a little bit of extended height, although it doesn't work as much since they're not rising as fast. But, you know, if you want to save a few milliseconds, note that these are rising platforms that you can get an extended jump off of them, possibly. But yeah, bots here. We're gonna move on to the next one. Now, we used to, or at least I used to, stop the level at this point, at the 4th bot, and I wouldn't go get the 5th bot. The 5th bot is definitely worth it, but you do need to kill 3 enemies here. It'll spawn a platform here. You take the platform up, and then you go to this platform in the background, kill 4 enemies total here, avoiding the shock pattern on the ground, and then it spawns the bot. So if you're a beginner, all of that can take around 30-ish seconds, but if you're optimizing everything at the fullest, that can take like 12 to 15 seconds to do all that. It can be pretty quick sometimes. And there is ways to cut out some of that and improve it even further, which I'll show right now. But first, I'm just gonna show the natural way of doing it. So after that bot, you can go over here, spawn these enemies. It'll spawn 2 yellow enemies with spikes right here. I recommend starting to charge up a spin as you, after you get that other bot, so that you can unload that spin immediately on these 2 guys. But you want to be trying to move in this direction right here and trying to get here, because this bird enemy over here, you want it to hit down, because you are not going to be able to, you have to wait a few seconds for it to actually like detect you and try to attack you. So what you can do is move in the direction of this bird, get it to start coming down, and then after you realize that you have triggered its attack, go back to spin attack and kill the enemies over here. This bird is then gonna ground pound, do a shockwave effect that you should be avoiding by being over here by killing the enemies. But then after it does the shock effect and you've killed the 2 enemies over here, then you can jump back, pull the yarn, kill it, and activate the jump pad over here. So it's gonna look a little bit something like this. I was too quick there, so he didn't start up the charge attack, but that's roughly the idea of what you want to do. Let's see if I can kill myself so I can show that again, hopefully in a better light. Okay, so back up here, let's see if we can kill these enemies kind of correctly. Which I guess those enemies will kind of get to you faster than the bird will be able to charge up the attack, so make sure you have the attack charged up and you start the spin so the enemies will just like automatically run into you while you're waiting for the bird to do its attack. But just be prepared that when you see the bird like react to you, you do have enough time to jump away from it. You don't have to like time jumping before it starts its attack. You should, if you have good reaction times, you should, or you don't even have to have good reaction times. You should have roughly 1 second to notice that the bird is about to attack, and then be able to jump away regardless of if you've killed the enemies with the spin attack over here or not yet. If the enemies for some reason, like if you need to jump out of the way for the bird attack and the enemies over here haven't ran into your spin attack, you can just use your hover ability around here to kill them, and then kind of like circle back into the yarn here and pull it on that enemy, because the enemy there stays down for a good amount of time, you know, like 4 or 5 seconds. So you have some good opportunities. But let me try and show an example of it done well here. You see it kind of like bends backwards. When it starts bending backwards to charge up its attack forwards, then you know you can jump away. So like right there, you know, it's upright, but then as soon as you see it bending backwards, that's when you jump away, and you have a good amount of time, a second or two, to jump away. So just make sure you're not on the ground. Make sure you are actively jumping, and be ready to even spin stall or use your hover boots to stay in the air for a little bit longer so you don't land into the shock effect. But the shock effect doesn't stay active for very long, so it's not the hardest thing to avoid. But yeah, but that's gonna spawn the jump pad, and you can go up here. I'm gonna get the checkpoint here. I do also want to say that there is a faster method here, but it relies on a good cycle on this elevator right here. Okay, so you can jump direct. You can skip those enemies entirely and jump from here over to here. And when I say here, I mean this. When this platform's all the way risen up, you can jump from its like corner, those like green squares there, and do a direct path and jump here. It's a very precise jump that requires perfect distance to get to, and then you ledge grab at the end. And a downside to this is that if you fail to jump, you get sent back roughly 10-15 seconds to the last checkpoint. So there's a lot of people that don't go for this. I usually go for it, but you also have to depend on the cycle of this block. Like basically, if I see that this block is starting to rise, like if it's just reached the bottom where it is now, or it's starting to rise up from the bottom, then I decide, okay, I'm gonna utilize this jump here. If it's at the top and it's starting to go down, then I'm like, okay, I'll just skip doing this jump and I'll go kill the enemies instead, because me waiting for the platform to go all the way down and back up to do this very hard, precise jump will take roughly the same time as me just going and killing the enemies right now and spawning that jump pad. And why try risking this hard, precise jump when it will just take about, in a situation where it'll take roughly the same time as killing the enemies, you know? So when the cycle lines up for this platform here, after getting this bot, I will determine if I want to go for this jump or not. But again, usually if I can tell that you want to keep an eye on the elevator as you're getting this bot and throughout the animation, but yeah, if you can't see the block like there, you know that it's at the bottom and it's starting to rise. But it'll look something like this. You'll jump from here. You need sprint speed, which you should have sprint speed if you're coming from that last spot, as long as you're holding a direction and not like hesitating, or you're like running in circles before you jump off. But it'll look something like this. Jump at the peak and ledge grab like that. Okay, now I did that just you know, using the regular moves that we do, but you can use a method of spinning on against a ledge, because spinning against a ledge prevents you from getting that slowdown from trying to jump off of a ledge. You know, sometimes like that, you see that I get slowed down when I jump off a ledge. So in case you don't want to try to time the jump very perfectly, you can guarantee that you're getting the most distance possible by doing this spin ledge guard. The ledge, spinning against the ledge, having the ledge just catch you, and preventing you from falling off, and then jumping. So this ensures, like I've explained before, this ensures that you maintain your sprint speed, even though you're not even moving anywhere for like a second or two. You don't have to actually like have this spin against the ledge for like a second or two. You can do this jump instantly. So something like this would work, like that, or something like this, or something like this. You see, I just make sure that I notably see myself stop there for like a quarter second, so that I know that I'm at the that I'm getting the most possible distance out of this as possible, and I'm not jumping too soon. But anyways, we can use this at the top here. So something like this. Yep, there we go. A little bit hard to make that distance perfectly on your first few tries, but it starts getting more lenient. My rule of thumb is that you should start, I like to build up speed here, and then I like to jump on the block when it's level with the floor that I'm on right now. So right there, and then I jump, and then by the time I reach the corner, it should be at the max point of its jump. Another thing to note is that you can use a small bit of elevator rising speed to launch yourself slightly up in the air. It's not very much, but if you jump off the edge as it's right about to reach the peak, instead of being at the actual peak and being level and having no momentum, you can utilize a little bit of momentum of the elevator rising to launch you up a little bit. So something like that. Don't try to jump on it when it's like this. Okay, see, that was slightly too soon. It doesn't, you can still make the jump either way, but it's just like a small tip that could help you. So jump like this. And if you do it really well like that, you don't even have to ledge guard. I will note that the way I'm doing it there probably isn't the best way, where I do the hover first and then the spin attack. Whenever you're relying on a ledge guard to pull you up, you want to make sure the last move in your jump arsenal is the hover, and that you canceled the hover, because sometimes the spin attack can hurt your chances of ledge guard happening at all. if you don't fall out of the spin into the ledge. Like if you spin into the ledge, it won't ledge guard. But if you hover into the ledge and then deactivate the hover, it can still ledge guard. So try to do it more like this, I'd say. Oh, I guess something I need to note is that if you do the spin, you can't spin immediately, which you would have to time the spin to stop a few seconds before. Like you would have to time the spin animation to end right after you jump if you want to use your spin right at the start. So I guess in this case, if you're using the spin ledge guard to maximize your distance, it's okay to end on the spin stalling then. But for normal jumps, just remember when you're going for a ledge guard to start with a spin stall instead of doing it at the end there. But yep, that's how you make that jump. So we're gonna come over here, use the rail grind. For this next part, it's so what's worth noting here is that you can skip this part and go past it, but to get the bot here, you have to kill the enemies here in order for the bot to spawn. So there's gonna be 4 enemies total. There's one here, one here, one here, one here. Basically the enemies on the opposite side. So whatever side that you land on, so say I get off this rail grind and I land on this side, then these 2 enemies will spawn first. If I decided I wanted to jump and hover and land on this side, then these 2 enemies will spawn. And the same works for both sides. Basically, once you set foot on one side, it'll spawn the enemies on the other side. So if I land over here, these 2 enemies spawn over here. I go and kill these 2 enemies. As soon as I touch the ground over here, regardless of if I killed these 2 enemies or not, these 2 enemies will then spawn over here. So the way that you want to go about this is land on one side, go over to the other side, use your hover ability to kill 2 of the enemies, land right after you killed the 2 enemies to spawn the enemies over here, and then instantly jump across the shock again and use your hover abilities in one full motion above them to kill them instantly. And then after that last kill, you want to make sure you're prepared to you want to land on the ground again, and then be prepared to jump up into the center, the very center of the platform, and spin stall in the middle of the platform, because the bot is going to rise up, and normally it's going to rise up, stay, and then gradually fall back down. If you spin as it comes out of the ground, you can collect it early. So it'll look something like this. Like that, okay? That was pretty perfectly done. So yeah, this is just the best method that I've done it. The main thing in general that you need to do is just know that laying out on one side will spawn the other enemies. You could just like jump across and then like punch them, and then jump across and then punch the other 2 in case you don't feel very comfortable with the hover. And then just know that as soon as you kill the last enemy, on this center square right here, I guess I shouldn't have drawn on a moving platform, but you know, on this middle square that I am standing on, the bot will rise up, and if you do a spin in midair and can time it as the bot gets shot up, you can get that bot a few seconds earlier than waiting for it to come back down and then hitting it once it hits the ground. But yeah, that's about it. Once you collect that bot and you confirm the bot animation, you can just leave planet, and that's Luna Sola. Alright. Which, that level is very fast. It takes less than 2 minutes to complete from start to finish and get all those 5 bots, but do know that it's very precise to get all that stuff down. I did re-explain a lot of like basic tech, movement tech stuff in that level, but it's worth it because that level utilizes a lot of very precise jumps and getting perfect distance on stuff. So that level specifically Lunasola is a good example to just get a refresher on stuff that I might have explained back in like Sky Garden. But anyways, we got Orbital now. So Orbital, this is a level that I still haven't perfected in one go in a run. Like my gold for this level still has potential to be made. Cryo is really good at this level, but this is one of the levels that you know, got routed in later, so I've had less practice with it overall than other levels. But overall, you do want to get all the bots. All the bots are like 15 seconds or less. Note that the sub area bot, which is the first, not the first bot, but the second bot that we go after, that sub area is about 20-ish seconds long. It depends how you go about it, and I'll explain it. But yeah, Orbital, definitely worth getting all the bots. But if there was any bot that you would want to route out for whatever reason, like if you, you know, like for the future routing changes and whatever reason, or you know, since this is one of the last levels, and if you realize that you got an extra bot, the bot that you would route out in this level is that sub area bot, which is the second bot in this level overall. So just know that in case you have to do on the fly routing. Since this is the last level, know that you only need 200 bots in order to face the boss. And after you get all the bots, after you get 200 bots, you don't have to get any more bots in the rest of the run. So after this level, that's it. So as you see, I have 194 bots right now. And that's because I did collect a few extra to show off some of the alternative bots that you can get, but the ideal number that you want going into Orbital is 193. If you got an extra one, because it is really hard to figure out all the bots that you need to get in a route. I know that it took me like 4 or 5 runs where I kept getting an extra bot or 2, or that I forgot an extra bot or 2. Even one of my runs like 2 weeks ago, I got an extra bot or 2. So there is times where you will get an extra bot or 2 accidentally in a run. So make sure you keep an eye out at your bot count going into this level. And if you do have 194 instead of 193, like I said, you can route out the second bot in this level, the sub area bot. That's the slowest bot out of all 7 of them. But also experiment and figure out what works best for you, because it's not just all based off of which is the fastest. Sometimes it's based off of if one bot's harder to get for you instead of another. But anyways, let's go on. Make sure you are pointing to the left or right so you skip the puzzle piece for this spaceship, because you don't want to get that 3-second bot animation. You're gonna go straight forward here. I like to jump up on this ledge here, but you can technically just jump from the bottom ledge there on the left. We can pull this up. So this little triangle thing, this isn't the best picture, but imagine that we're gonna have a platform kind of like stem from here, and then we're gonna have another platform kind of like stem back here. So you kind of ideally want to land on whether you jump from up here or jump from down there. You kind of want to aim for a platform when it's coming around in a cycle like this. If you realize that it's not in a cycle where it's like right here, such as like how it looks right now, then definitely jump from down here to up here, or run a little bit more right and try to intervene this as it's moving around, because it moves clockwise. So I could jump up here and then like try to aim on jumping the one that's moving in this direction. But normally you want to jump on the first pad that's like over here, jump on the coin, then jump on the pad that's over here, and use that pad to jump up to this spot, because you need to make sure you have height for this spot. You can't just do the most direct path. So yeah, usually the first cycle gives you a chance to do something like this. That's usually how the cycle ends up going from the start of the level. Yeah, so then for this next section, know that there's going to be a little rail grind that spawns here. It's going to take a few seconds for it to spawn, so you have to go through an animation of like the spaceship taking this level exit. In order to trigger that animation, you have to be standing sort of kind of like, this is kind of like the trigger box for it, I think, something like this. I don't remember exactly, but just know that if you go towards the middle here, you'll trigger it sooner. Otherwise, you can make a direct path here, and that will trigger it as well once you reach sort of this platform, which it doesn't really matter which way you do it. You can spawn it directly this way if you want the rail grind to spawn by time you get over there, or if you're willing to risk it a little bit, you can go the most direct path and then jump off the edge here and land as the rail grind kind of spawns. Another thing to note about this is don't make a direct path right into this level. Make sure you kind of go around it, because if you kind of like go around it like this, you know, or more like this, and then jump off the edge right there, because if you get too close, it'll knock you back. So follow a sort of something like this. And that rail grind is usually a little bit more right than what I expect. So I'm going to start off from the beginning, because there is one other glitch potential thing that is faster here that nobody does because it's super hard that I want to show off. But there is like a cow. Actually, I don't know where the cow is. Might have already went away. Let me restart level so I can show this off. I think they might have changed this. I have the recording paused right now, but I think they might have changed how this cow thing works. Because you used to be able to restart this with a lot of extra time, but based on the fact that I got, when I collected the bot, it changed a little bit, I don't know. Okay, so I wanted to point out these cows right here. These cows are, you can ride on them. It's extremely hard, but somebody has shown a video before of jumping on this cow as they get abducted and riding them, which they go in the direction of where the level continues. So if you can consistently ride on them, it is worth it will be a little bit of time save. I don't know how much. It might be like 7 seconds-ish or maybe, but it's very, very inconsistent. I've never had it actually work all the way, and I've tried to practice it a bit, and I forget how this works because it's been over a month since I've looked into this, but just for the future, if people want to look into this more, there is a way where you can kind of go around kind of like this. I missed it. I messed it up. But essentially, there's a way where you can kind of like go around the barriers. Usually it's kind of like if you can make it over here, and then you can kind of like go this direction to trigger that main like event with the spaceship taking away that level, and you can move over here. You can like jump, land on the cow as it gets abducted, and then kind of like run around the top of its head to try to like stay on top of it while it's moving, and it can like send you all the way over there. I just wanted to mention it because I don't want to like spend too much time on it, but I just wanted to mention that is a thing that might improve runs in the future. We're just going to continue on now. You can just keep going straight forward. Melee this first glob guy. The chest is going to spawn in front of us here and kill all of these glob guys. Don't go directly for it. If you go directly for it, it will knock you back. So what I do is that after I jump up here, after hitting this glob enemy, I go a little bit right to kind of like start aiming to the right side of this glob enemy. Like I start heading towards this glob enemy a little bit, maybe slightly curving on the right side of it. And then as soon as this comes down, I immediately kind of like curve back inwards and use a jump glide to kind of like hit the chest as it like it bounces off the ground. After it hits the ground here, I try to jump into it and hit it at the peak of its jump. You can just wait for it to land and hit it at the base too, but I just try to optimize the idea of hitting it as soon as possible. But basically you want to hit the chest here and then start heading in this direction, because we're going to do a little shortcut off the edge over there, okay? So something like this. I did that a little bit too slow. Otherwise, you saw the idea I was going for. Kind of like start heading in the direction of this glob enemy over here. You do not want to be within the vicinity of where this crater kind of like spawns. Okay, and then right as it impacts the ground, then you can hover, jump and hover back in this direction. Yeah, otherwise you can just wait for it to land fully and then just hit it really fast. Try to keep your sprint speed while you're doing this. Not too hard, as long as you're not, again, as long as you're not instantly like doing 180s and completely changing your trajectory all the way. But yeah, keep your sprint speed going. Go into this corner. You're gonna jump off this corner right here. Now, I've never been able to make this without the chicken jetpack. It would be a little bit faster if you don't have to use the chicken jetpack, but yeah, you will have to do a short boost of the chicken jetpack in order to clear that. Then just make a exit, a direct path over here to this sub area. For this sub area, you need to break the glass here above you, grab this handle, and then pull it up with the chicken jetpack. A few minor things to note here is that you can use your hover boots to instantly do glide into it to break the glass instantly, and then like circle back and like use the fact that you're descending into it. Like activate the hover boots like right here, and then you'll like descend into it as you break the glass. But also note that you want to change your course and like curve back around right at the end, because you won't like fall into you won't break the glass in front of you as you land. But if you break the glass here and you're falling in this direction, then make sure you curve back around so you actually fall without hitting any other part of the glass. You'll fall in the spot where you broke the glass. And that also works well because this handle is like right here. It's like always going to be on this side. So you do a little hover, try to time the hover jump the end right as you're like falling into the hole. And then turn backwards, grab the handle, do a quick jetpack burst. Do a short jetpack burst there because, you know, the more time you spend in the air, the longer it's going to take you to descend. So do a short burst there, fall into the level, and then you got this sub area. So this sub area, you don't have to press these buttons at all. You can just, if you know what you got to do, you can just do what you got to do. So there is a little handle hidden here amongst the stars. You can start to go, like, it's right here, but you can press square kind of like right here-ish, and it'll automatically grab onto it. I shouldn't say like right there, like if you try to pick it up from here, it's not gonna work, but just know that the handle's here. If you hold square, it'll kind of like auto grab it as long as you're like within this radius of it. So I normally aim like right after I go past these two buttons. That's when I normally try and press square to grab this handle. As soon as you grab the handle, so you can just jetpack up. So I normally time a square and R2 press almost automatically, regardless of a visual aid to see if I've actually grabbed the handle. So I just do something like this, and that rises it up. Now when you go up, you will fall down. You can do a spin stall before you hit the ground, like time a spin stall to move into the yarn here. You could just land and do a quick jump up, but it would be faster to do a spin stall into it. You also could just land into it like this. No, not like that. This is a little bit more precise, and sometimes you can ruin it with a ledge grab, but you can just instantly fall into it like that. That takes a little practice. When you pull this yarn, know that just like with the jetpack dog, you can pull this yarn quicker with the chicken jetpack. So once you pull the yarn, you can activate the jetpack, and that will instantly pull it. Okay, chicken jetpack will instantly pull yarn. I think this is the only application of that. Sad. And then you can go directly through here and throw. You'll instantly get enough metal to throw at the. Well, maybe not instantly. You will have to wait half a second, but by time you, if you're just standing here and you move forward a little bit, you should automatically get enough metal to be able to throw at this thing. So if you want to take the most direct path, you can just jump this way. You won't get the blue arrow to throw at this wall if you're too close to the wall. So you see right here, you won't get the blue arrow. So I don't take the most direct path because I can miss throwing my shot sometimes. If you accidentally throw the shot like this, you just have to go back to the yarn, get another one, and pick up some more metal. But I like to curve out this way. I just like to kind of land on the ground, throw it, jump up, and then use the chicken jetpack, which, yeah, just make sure you jump with a high jump and hover boots, and then use your jetpack at the peak of your jump, and you will be able to clear this jump here. But yeah, another thing to note is that you can use the chicken jetpack, throw that, and then hover into that. So this is another way that you can do it. That might be a little bit more direct. So yeah, that's about it. But yeah, this is the sub area bot that I was talking about that you can route out if you've noticed that you've collected one extra bot throughout the game, and you only need to get 6. We're just gonna go up this way. You can just go up right here. You don't have to be against the wall, but yeah. Orbital Blitz, let's see. So there we have another bot right here. You're just gonna spawn here every time. You're just gonna go straight forward from where you jump out. Be careful not to be too far right, because the snake here will do a glob shot at you, and it can kill you most of the time. So I like to just be slightly left. I do go straight forward, or I go slightly left and forward to avoid getting glopped on. But you can either aim for this little patch here or this patch. It's worth noting that you can go through these these branches, but you do get some slowdown if you go through the branches. So I typically like to use the chicken jetpack and then hover into them. And it's usually just 2 short bursts, so something like this. And just try to be wary of using the jetpack in areas where you're not having to travel through the branches. This bot here, I never can get too quickly, so what my plan is always to land on the hood of the car and then move in the direction of it, instead of trying to spin attack it as I'm like traveling up or falling, you know? But that's that bot. You will spawn on this leaf. You want to try to make sure that you have sprint speed for this next part. So you either keep your sprint speed going into this bot or try to build up sprint speed on the way over here. But the idea for this next section is that it's pretty important to keep your sprint speed. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna glide over here. Once we reach the sort of rightish part over here, we're gonna touch the ground again to replenish all of our jumping abilities. We're gonna use the chicken jetpack to go all the way up. Then we're gonna use a spin stall at the peak of our jump. At this point, the flower enemy should spawn right here, and we're gonna hover into the hover above the enemy, heading back to the back left of this sort of platform to avoid the shock platform below us. But as long as we're heading in the back left, or we kind of like curve ourselves from the right side to the back left, our hover ability will kill that flower enemy instantly, and we'll be able to keep our speed and drop down to where the handle is going to spawn right about here. Okay, and why it's so important you have sprint speed is for the part after you pull this hook, because if you have sprint speed as you pull it and use your jetpack to go up, you can then hold forward and use your hover boots to land on this platform as it rises up into the sky and get a little bit of a speed, clear some extra distance than you would normally. So if you don't have sprint speed, you can spend 2 seconds building up there, but this is how it works. You see there, that's sprint speed, so I can clear that, and you're up here. The most direct path is kind of like going this way. Be careful that you will probably lose your sprint speed when you come up here. If you have sprint speed, you can clear this jump right here and land on this corner right here. Or you can jump off the blob here, and if you're feeling confident enough, instantly go for this platform and wait for the cycle to go up. But a lot of people usually die on this part, and just know that if you die, you have to redo, you spawn back down there, so you don't take if you die up here, you won't take advantage of that skip that you just did, or I wouldn't say it's a skip, but you know, that sort of extra help from that platform moving forward. So the safety way of going about here is just spending an extra second going over here, and then going over here using your jet boost to kill the blob to land on this platform. And then for all these next platforms right here, because of the cycles, like it's a little tedious to have to time these cycles perfectly, so we're just gonna avoid having to time our jumps between these cycles, and we'll use our jetpack immediately first. So the jetpack will be our first like jump, the first thing in the order of our jumps that we do. So use the jetpack first, and then do the hover and then the spin attack to go over to the next platform, okay? And that allows you, like, that goes at the same speed as you would normally go when you, you know, like if you go up to try to time the cycles and you use the chicken jetpack to go up between them. Using the chicken jetpack beforehand will still be the same speed-wise. So do the chicken jetpack, glide, spin, stagger. Do the same thing over here. Glide, spin, stagger, jetpack, spin. Yep, just like that, pretty much. Grab that handle immediately. Spawn these guys. Now, we've tried to skip these guys, and there's no way to jump over to them. But essentially, what we think how this works is that once you can kill the frog enemies, they'll spawn the rest of the level. But right now, the route does include us just grabbing these missiles and aiming at these guys like that. One thing to note is that, let's see if I can redo that at all. I probably can't. I usually wait until I get all the missiles and make sure that you see the red crosshairs on all 4 of those frogs, because sometimes you can waste time if you don't get all the crosshairs on all 4 of the frogs. I think you only need to kill the 2 front ones. You don't need to kill the 2 back ones. Killing the 2 front ones will kill the rest of them, but and you don't have to grab all the missiles like I did too. You only have to grab like half of them, as long as you have enough to just kill the 2 front frogs. But know that if you don't grab all of them, you have to jump off the controller really quickly so that the rest of the missiles don't like run into you. So for safety reasons, I usually grab all the missiles and then just make sure that the targets are on all the frogs. That way that I don't have to rely on any of them missing the frogs. No missiles will hit me. But yeah, there is some small speed strats that you could do there if you want to look more into it. But yeah, you'll usually, if you do this as fast as possible, you'll the levels will be rising. So you kind of want to just know that you want to jump off the edge here and then use chicken jetpack and then spin stall as this platform comes into place. Okay, and then do the same thing here pretty much. For this next spot, this jump is a little bit hard, or it's not hard, but there's 2 jumps here. There's one jump here to go back around and get this spot, and then there's one jump immediately after this spot that goes up on top of the roof over there. Now, it's very important how you do this jump here. I'm going to show you the specific way that I do it. There's a few ways that you can do it, but the way that I do it here will ensure that you keep your sprint speed, or usually it should. And then yeah, we're gonna want to make sure that we have sprint speed to do a very precise jump headed in this direction. Now, if you realize that you don't have sprint speed up here, you could either spend 4 seconds trying to get sprint speed back up and still risk the hard jump, or there is an alternative path kind of like right there, or you can literally just take down the zipper that's right there, because the zipper doesn't take a lot of time either, and you can just jetpack boost from inside once you're in the room with glass roofs. But let me show you how this will probably flow. Okay. So you should have sprint speed by the time you get up here. If you don't, you can probably get sprint speed by the time you reach over there, but all of these are intended for you, all these jumps are intended for you to have sprint speed unless otherwise mentioned. But go kind of like to this yellow part, and then you're gonna jetpack up first after you do a high jump. Jetpack first, then glide, and you can do a spin stall at the end there to make sure that you make it. But remember, you're just like curving and doing no sudden like corner cuts to make sure that you don't stop your momentum, and then you're just gonna hit the bot. So again, it's kind of like do your jetpack right here, right before that one square high wall. So one jetpack here, glide, then stall, and then get the bot. And then after this bot, you're immediately gonna go for this corner over here. try to jump early so you don't ledge guard. You could use the trick where you spin before the ledge to get a little bit extra distance, but right here it's more important that you get height than distance, and you want your first move after the jump to be a spin. So because of that, we're not going to do the spin, the ledge spinning. Okay, so right here we're just going to make sure you jump early before the ledge so it doesn't slow you down. You're going to do a spin stall in the air, and then after you start descending, use your jetpack to go to reach the max height that you can with it, and then use your hover boots into the curved roof side. Okay, now just landing anywhere against the side of the roof won't replenish your jump abilities, but if you reach the most peak part of the roof that I'm about to hit, you will replenish your abilities, and you'll notice that you will if you slide down it. Sliding down at the top means that you'll replenish your jump abilities, so it'll look something like this. And there you go. You see, I got my jetpack boost back and my hover. But yeah, you're kind of aiming for... There's an invisible wall, by the way, I should mention. There's like an invisible wall right here. So you kind of need to replenish your... You need to aim for like right here and then slide down. You need to aim for right here and then slide down right here to replenish your jump abilities, and then you'll use your jetpack to be able to jump over and clear the invisible wall that's like right here. Okay. Once you get over here, the invisible wall does go away. This is the bot we're trying to get, so if this jump right here is too hard for you, you can go for the casual method of going inside by jumping into a zipper and unzipping the door, then going through this tunnel, and then just chicken jetpacking up out of this glass ceiling, and then go and get this bot, which that method only is like, I want to say like 6-7 seconds slower. There is an alternative method if you don't like this jump either and you want to skip the zipper, which it's just go over here, and this is the zipper that you would normally open. But if you don't want to go for the zipper and you don't want to do that hard trick, you can just do a high jump and glide to get the most distance, as most height as possible here, and then use a chicken jetpack to go up here, just like that. And that's enough to get you on that lip, which you might like. You see this big yellow platform here, you see the corner here, you kind of want to be halfway between. If you want to be more specific, try to be where this you see these 4 white lines right here. I'd say be right under this bottom white line, so kind of like right here is where you're trying to aim to be. So jump from, and the most important idea is just jump more from the right than from the left. So, and you don't even have to be at sprint speed for this either. So just have a peak jump, use the chicken jetpack, and then lean to the left as the chicken jetpack reaches the peak. This is a strat used in 100%, by the way, preferred to the other method because of the coins that are right here. But yeah, let me show you the intended way again. So I'm gonna go up here, use the chicken jetpack, glide over here, get the bot. I'm gonna make sure that I have sprint speed. I'm gonna jump before I hit the ledge to make sure that I don't lose any speed from a ledge guard. And then chicken jetpack, and then I'm gonna try to glide into the wall there. I didn't have enough distance there. You kind of can see, you kind of know when you're gonna hit it and not gonna hit it. You don't have a way to kind of like recover from it. It's kind of like something that you go for or you die. But there is some like, a line that you can kind of use as a basis of if you're gonna get up there and reach the max distance usually. Yeah, you can kind of see this line right here. Now, this line, it doesn't tell you for sure. You still have to be like slightly, the cutoff is still like slightly above that line, but it's a good indication of like where you kind of have to hit. I always aim for this part right here, right? Like, it's not quite at the top of the white. It's not like quite at the bottom, but it's kind of like, you know, almost where this, the slanted part of the white is starting to meet the edge. So I always aim for there. And then when you glide into this, you always want to be aiming to the bottom right, like that, to slide off it. And then when you're kind of like off the edge fully and you've slid off it, then you want to try to hover a little bit and then use your chicken jetpack to go over the invisible wall that's right here. Okay? So just properly explaining that, like that, and then you're golden. For this next jump, you want to aim for the planet. Don't go directly forward. Do like go in a 1 p.m. sort of clock direction. So like this direction, like this. And then you're gonna aim for the green railing over here. I like to just do like the chicken jetpack at the end there, but other runners say that they prefer the idea of using the chicken jetpack first to get so that they can kind of like time their jump to land perfectly on the rail grind. But that part's not too hard. Just know that you don't have to jump from the very top here, okay? You definitely have enough height to jump from the side here, okay? One thing also to note is that sometimes you'll see the spaceship with the carrying the end of the level right here. You can't get it or do anything with that. It's something that just stays there and you can't do anything about that. But some people think that you could skip to the end of the level sometimes if there's something to mess around with that, which feel free to mess around with it, but just know that other people have tried to mess around with that, and in every instance you do have to go to the very end of the level. But anyways, moving on, collect this bot. This next bot is one that you can't get instantly, so we're gonna use that's a tight jump, by the way, without the chicken jetpack, so be prepared to if you fall short of it, be prepared to use your chicken jetpack here. But this next spot we have to take down this zipper to get. You can reduce the time that you're spent in the jetpack by jumping on this little bolt right here and then up here. You can't jump directly into that zipper, but you can get like pretty much at the top and then just do a very quick jetpack into the zipper. Another thing to note about this zipper is that when you're unzipping, momentum is carried over even after you stop or jump off it. So let's say I want to get halfway. You see I jumped off it and it still like went down. So you can get off this zipper early before it reaches the bottom. Not that it really matters. I just wanted to explain that is tech here. That, well, it applies with any zipper where it carries over a little bit of momentum past where you jump off from it from. But it doesn't matter here because you do have to wait after you unzip this fully. Wait about like 7 seconds before the bot even becomes active to be hit. But it's an interesting tech nonetheless. So we're gonna pull down fully. This bot's gonna spawn and take away our bots. And like I said, you can't jetpack into this spaceship. You can't spin attack it. You can't spin attack the bot early. They are invincible for the first like 7 to 10 seconds. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna line up where it does become vulnerable, come up here, and kind of like as soon as it crosses over this shock platform is the first time it becomes available to be hit. So like right there. Actually, you could hit it a little bit sooner than that even. Be careful A lot of us have died when we go directly on this platform right here, which this gives you a much cleaner shot to that platform up there, but I suggest you jump here, do a chicken jetpack, and then make sure you do your hover and then a spin attack to land on this. Make sure you run in circles while you're waiting, and then you can kind of like YOLO it into like once the spaceship crosses here, it's gonna kind of like go around this way. It's gonna go around this way slowly and curve back into this. When it crosses kind of like this threshold here, that's when you can hit the bots. So you technically can go a little bit off the shock platform, or at the edge of the shock platform, instead of meeting up where it actually like, instead of like directly above the shock platform right here, you can actually hit it like right here probably, and it should count. But that's usually, right here is usually the soonest that you can hit it. If you don't hit it right here, make sure that you if you utilize your chicken jetpack as a backup, if you don't hit it, so that you don't fall off the edge, fall into the snake, or you fall in the shock. Chicken jetpack here is a good gadget that a lot of people forget that they can use as a backup, since you don't, you know, it's one of the one-off levels that uses it, so you forget that you have that extra jump ability to save you sometimes. But yeah, make sure you're sprinting in circles here, so you keep your sprint speed up. Go into the bot there, collect it, and then after you collect it, you're gonna be on this platform. No matter what cycle is going on right here, use your chicken jetpack first, and then kind of glide into this bounce pad here, and then you want to make sure you're using the jetpack at peak height. You can ignore these enemies here. We're going to aim for where this kind of like spiky enemy is. We're gonna aim roughly to jumping like above where he is, or around where he is. Jumping, kind of like having a peak jump, go up right above him, and then using our jetpack to go directly up. You do not want to, let's see. You do not want to go just directly up. You want to be, so like, after you like jump up here, let's say that you jump up exactly right here in the center of this whole platform, okay? In my head, I'm thinking, okay, I want to go a little bit up left, jump, use my hover boots to kind of like gain height up here, and then use the jetpack to get me the rest of the way, to give me enough height. Because if I go directly forward and then use the jetpack to go up, I'm gonna hit my head on the ceiling of a platform. So you can kind of think as this bar as kind of like the thing that houses the square thing that we're trying to jump onto above us. So you want to make sure you kind of run along the, kind of like, you make sure that you've jumped on the left side of where this kind of like pillar is located, before you activate your chicken jetpack, okay? So something like this. So it's not like so it's a little bit more lenient than that. You could jump right at the pillar, I guess, but you know, I mean, I was being a little bit more safe there than is actually required. I guess the most optimal would be kind of line yourself up with that pillar and then jump into this, I suppose. But yeah, that's much faster than using this wall ride. Note that there is an invisible wall like right here, or sometimes there is. I forget if you're going too fast, there's like an invisible wall right here. So what we like to do is we like to it's like the invisible wall is like only right here. So what we like to do is go between the little gap right here where it does not exist. So again, sometimes the invisible wall isn't here, but if it is here, just go around like this, okay? And then jetpack boost up here. just skip all of this section right here. Just use the bounce pad to go over here and do this. Actually, I felt the jump pad right there. It's like if you jump off this, yeah, it's if you can feel it a little bit. It's kind of weird, but just know that there's a slight invisible wall, but just keep like trying to be against the final opening that you can cut in around over here, and then use your chicken jet boost right there. Not too complicated. I guess let me just show off the motion altogether right here again. And then you do direct type over here. As soon as you pass this first arrow, you can jump off this and chicken jetpack up this. Make sure you're centered with that golden plate above you though, because if you don't, you kind of miss the thing like that. But yeah, if you want to be safe, go jump off on the second arrow right here, so like right there. But you shouldn't need to hover into it. You should just be able to wait until you start seeing yourself descend after that jump from the arrow. And that should be the perfect way to judge if you're gonna make that jump or not. Like that. Just run forward, do a short jump, and the rail grind will always spawn at your feet. Now we have the boss here. This boss, there's a way to kill it really fast, okay? So the idea that you want to use here is go up to the edge here. Watch its like hands. It's going to do an animation with its hands. Once it stops the animation with its hands and like it's going to put his hands kind of like close together. As soon as he's done with the animation and his hands go back to his sides, I normally time a full jetpack boost at the end of this platform directly up, and that's going to hit him as he comes towards you without him like spawning enemies or having to do any of his little like maneuvering things for you to catch up with him at. This first one I always can time a little bit weird, so sometimes I time this first one earlier than the others, so be aware of that. But the two attacks after this I find much easier to time, and the two attacks after this, I don't use the same method of jumping from the ground. I just kind of glide forward, or I run forward, and as soon as I reach kind of like the edge here, after I've jumped and used my glide ability to jump over enemies, as soon as I kind of like reach the edge, I just jump, use my jetpack up, and it perfectly hits him. But you can use the same idea with all phases, where once he like puts his arms back to the side and he stops his animation with his arms, then that's when you can start timing your jetpack boost, and it should perfectly line up for when he crosses over. So let me show an example of this. So again, for the first attack, I stay on the ground, I go up to the edge, I wait for his animation to end, and then I charge a full jetpack into him. Then for the final two attacks, I just run forward, jump and hover up in the air to get as much height as possible. And then when he finishes his little arm animation, I jetpack up directly. So like this. From the ground, jetpack up. And of course I failed it. Again, with that first one, you have to wait a little bit longer. So that's why I normally say you jetpack from the floor, because that gives you a little bit of extra time before he gets into position. But yeah, you might want to wait a little bit longer than just reaching the edge. For the last two attacks, it's usually you reach the edge and you can instantly jetpack, but wait a little bit longer after you reach the edge, and make sure you've waited like a quarter second after his attack animation ends, just for that first attack. So like this, like that, and you jump, hit him immediately. Then for the other two attacks, like I said, you just run, jump forward, gain some height with the jump hover, and then jetpack into him once you reach the edge. And again, like once his arm animation is finished and he puts his hands back to the side. So like this. And then the same with the last one. And then that's that. I'm gonna kill myself so I can show that off again. And sorry if I over-explain. Oh, I can't show that off again. Okay, that's fine. Sorry if I'm like over-explaining that. I want to give you guys more details more than anything. Because I assume most people can like just pull up a world record run and kind of like try to figure out what they're doing or timing. And I want to make sure that this tutorial gives you anyone that's having trouble or is missing those attacks indications of what they could use to help it make it more consistent. At least what I've picked up at least. So it really is just as simple. The simple idea of that fight is wait for his hands to go to the side, and then you can charge up a jetpack boost at the edge of the level, and it should always hit him. But yeah, I would also practice that fight just once or twice without it, so that in case you do miss, you know how to quickly recover and instantly get him instead of wasting 30 seconds trying to catch him and figure out how to get him. So yeah, but that's all I'm gonna spend there. Doing that fight fast does save a good amount of time. It's the main reason why we started routing an orbital over Cannon Brawl, because there's no animation cancels for Cannon Brawl for the final boss. But for this boss, you can kill it a lot faster, which put orbital ahead on our radar. Okay, so we got one more boss. So at this point, you don't have to worry about getting any more extra bots. It's just about getting to the end of the game as fast as possible. And that requires us doing Falcon McFly, this boss fight, going through the Horizon level as fast as possible. Then we go back to the crash site, clean the PS5 panels, then set out to fight the Space Bully Nebulax. So let's go. There is a few things with movement towards this first boss, just some small things. You don't have to kill these birds. You can do a direct movement to the chest here. It is worth noting that you can get a chest launch, that if you jump into this chest with a spin attack at the right angle, it can boost you up into the air, and that you can get over the invisible barrier that spawns here after you hit the chest, and save a second or two by going towards the direction of the volcano. I'm gonna see if I can get it right now, but I'm not gonna show it off. If I don't get it here, I'm not gonna show off. Wait, keep resetting the level until I can show it off. So, which looks something like this. Okay, not quite. Yeah, I wasn't able to get it. Something that nobody really uses and runs yet, but if you did get a launch, you could launch over the invisible wall here, and you would get the power-up animation kind of like right here, and you would just instantly just go into the volcano. So getting a launch early there would save like 2 seconds. But anyways, if you don't get the launch, you just simply just jump and hover into the volcano here. Now for this part right here, you can just wait until you're like 5 meters away from the volcano guy, about right here, and then just jump over him. And then you can do a spin stall to perfectly have the height to turn into the ball power up to launch yourself in the air here. But yeah, people die to these enemies. Some people try to go right. If you go right, then I find that their abilities kind of follow you quickly enough, but know that the best way to usually avoid these guys' fires ends up being the most direct way, where you just jump over them ahead of time, like this. Okay? And then you unscrew the screw here, and this pulls up the thing. I want to show off that there is an alternative method to go about this without unscrewing these, that can optimally save like 1 second, but only if it's performed really well. In most cases, if you can't perform it well, it ends up losing you time. but I want to show it off anyways. It's basically from here, instead of going straight, you kind of go off to the side. Okay, I haven't performed this, but I do want to show it off in case anyone does go for it, but basically you want to try to aim for this little floor right here. Okay. Oh. Well, I landed on it for a second, but damn, these volcano guys. You see, there's a lot of reasons why I don't go for it. These volcano guys is a big reason why. But you land there, try to land on the side of one of those things there. It could be this one too if you want. Then you're up here. Then you want to kind of aim for this like little grass patch on the side here. The little one, the little grass patch, and then you can jump on that little rock, and then up you go. And that's you still have to unscrew this one, but that skips having to unscrew that screw there. And you can also make that jump from right there instead of having to use this platform right here. So you can make it a little bit more direct. So, but you have to have sprint speed, and you kind of have to spin stall into it. But yeah, I'm not the best at this, but so there's definitely it goes fast if you can pull it off directly and fluently, but back to the casual casual route. You can unscrew these screws. Make sure you're not standing on this, otherwise you'll get staggered. So try to stand to the side, like this, and then like make sure you jump up. The fastest way to go up here is just jump on this first one, and then do a hover jump up on this one, and then another hover jump. Make sure you spin, hard to spin as soon as you come up from there, and then start spinning right here. That, land on this first one, jump from the end of this second platform up to make a direct path to the volcano, and then we're ready to fight the boss. Which I'm gonna warn all of you ahead of time, this is my worst boss. Not that it's hard, it's not that I even die on it, I just suck at making the micro optimizations on it. But just like Mecha Leon, there is 2 opportunities here where you can die early to cancel an attack. It does not save as much time as Leon's attack skips, but they will save you a few seconds if you pull them both off. I don't know what the time is exactly for them, but I want to say it saves like 2 seconds each time for both attacks. But it's the attacks where they are spitting lots of medium-sized birds that roll in your direction. Like several of them roll in your direction. Not the really big one, but the more medium-sized ones. If you jump off the edge as soon as the first one pops out of their mouth, it'll skip the entire attack animation for all of them rolling out. But we only have to worry about that on the second and third phase. To start off, this fight's basically, the basics of it is you can't go over here. If you go over here, the wings will flap you back. You want to try to, every time the beak comes down and you turn into a metal ball to counteract the beak attack, you want to try and do like one little like circle motion, one little circle motion like this, and then you start jumping in the direction of the screw. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a way to like get the screw early, but I haven't seen anyone ever successfully do that. But anyways, this first one, there's gonna be, oh, that's interesting. You don't even have to kill the enemies if you're quick enough. Let me start this fight over so I can give a full proper explanation of it. And remember, for when you're going for the corkscrews on the side, they can do the same thing as we were doing on the way to this level, where as long as you're not on top like as long as you're not on top of this grate and you're on the side, you won't get knocked back. So I guess to show off before I die, you can do something like this, and then you're not gonna get knocked back when you unscrew it. But starting the fight over to show how everything's done optimally. There's gonna spawn 4 enemies. Normally you just want to stay in the center. Don't know if there's any strat specifically. Do one circle motion and then start moving towards the fork, the screw or whatever. Once you do that ball attack on each side of the wing, just go forward. You don't need to kill any enemies, just go forward. And what I like to do is at the end of the light purple feathers that work as a floor right now, as soon as that starts to slope down, I like to jump and just glide into the bounce pad up here. So like this. You could also probably spin stall, and that might be a little bit more efficient instead of using the glide. So they're gonna start using the bird attack. This is the bird attack that you can skip the animation of. So right as, basically if you can time your death right like a frame or two after the bird spits out of their mouth, then it will successfully skip. But if it's in their throat when you die, then it won't skip it. So once you see that it's like in their throat, or like it is right now, you can jump off the edge in the back left. Make sure you're not, you are in the back side of the bird. If you're jumping from like if you're from up here and you're jumping off, you'll hit the wing and the wing will hit you back up here. If that happens, just continue the fight like normal, I'd say, instead of trying to kill yourself halfway through the rolling bird attack. But yeah, make sure you're in the back and preemptively tell when this is going to happen. It's always the first attack on the second phase, and then it's always the second attack on the third phase, okay? So do this. Definitely could have done that sooner than what I did right there. For these enemies right here, I always try to kill the first one that gets launched, but then I try to move the other two so that they kind of run forward in the sense that I can unscrew both of them at the same time. Sometimes it's RNG, but you can maneuver it a little bit where, like if I know that this guy lands here, and then if this guy lands right here, and I'm gonna go back to unscrew this guy back here, I know that this guy is gonna run a little bit forward in this direction and then stop when he's like a few meters away from me. I can use that to my advantage to know that he's gonna stop ahead of time and know that this guy's still gonna be moving in my direction. To when this guy stops, I circle around this way so that this guy will stop right next to this other guy. And then they're both gonna start flamethrowing. Both of these two are then both gonna flamethrow in this direction, and I can just curve around from the backside and unscrew both of them at the same time. That's a little optimization that I like to use, so I'll show this. They didn't land exactly how I expected them to, but that's the kind of idea that I would use for those true guys. Since I died there to them, I'm not going to be able to utilize skipping the attack, the final bird rolling attack, but it is very similar to what I showed previously. You kind of jump off the edge whenever they start doing the bird attack. I guess something that I forgot to mention is that with this beak attack, you can literally unball yourself the first frame that the beak hits you. You don't have to have it like hit you for like a half a second or whatever. As soon as the beak hits you, you can let go of the R2 button and it'll stagger the bird. Know that after this ability, we're gonna do the same thing where we need to get to the screw. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head in the direction of it. It can be either one. just because you did the left one the first time, it doesn't have to be the right one the second time. It can be either one. So I always try to go in the direction that the beak was pointed in. So the beak was pointed more to the left than to the right. So we're gonna head in the left direction. We're gonna do one little circle run to just make sure that we don't get pushed back by the heading in the direction of the wing instantly. And yeah, let's go directly for the screw. Like that. Don't kill these enemies, jump off. That. They're gonna do this, like, spit a lot of fire at you. It's after this attack that you would jump off again, but because I'm out of parts, I'm not gonna do that. But like right here is when you would jump off. This is how you just avoid it if you don't skip this attack. I just go between every two. Now there's gonna be a big bird that spawns after these enemies. You do have to kill like 1 or 2 of them, I believe. Actually, we can test it right here real fast. Yeah, as soon as you attack one of the enemies, I think they spawn a big rolling ball to come in your direction. Oh, and I died. Okay, well, I'm gonna resume the recording when we get to the end of this boss. Alright, pause the recording. Pencil does take you a little bit short, seems. I want to get those chest launch more successfully. Like I try to do them every once in a while, and they just seem so hard for me to get. I don't know why. Okay, resuming recording. Okay, so here we are back on phase 3, at the start of phase 3. So I can show off how you skip this final attack. So wait for the ball to fire, then jump off when they be in there. Start killing the enemies, but be aware that once you start killing the enemies, that big ball is gonna start to roll towards you. In the bird attack, do the thing where you like go in the direction towards the next screw, like I've explained before, doing a little circle before you, so you don't get flapped by the wings. Know that on this last one, it's much more precise to get this to unscrew the screw instantly. Be prepared to judge whether the fireball spit attack is gonna get you or not, because it's very, very fast, and there's a lot of people, especially since this is the last phase and you've died twice already, you've wasted all your hearts skipping parts of the animations of the 2 attacks before this. Just know that it's even more crucial for you not to die here. This is the part that I've seen people lose runs to because they can't get to the screw quick enough, and they try to risk getting the screw out before fireball attack comes. So be a good judge of when it comes. Which honestly, if you start spinning the screw, before the fireball attack starts launching out of the mouth of the bird, that's a good indication that you will do it. If the spit is like already like hovering above the wing on the left side, or on the far left side or on the far right side, by the time you start unscrewing the screw, I would preemptively go into ball form and wait for it to pass. And also know that it has to go, it's going to go back and forth, it's going to go to the right and then back to the left. So don't wait for it to pass once and then think you're all good. It's going to pass a double time. But yeah, I'm putting extra detail into that because that attack can is very important for you to survive against, since it's towards the end of the fight and you've lost all your hearts at this point. Also, for this jump here, what I find best is do a little glide and then a spin stall. So spin stall out of doing a glide. But yeah, just activate your jet boots for like a few milliseconds and then spin stall out of it, and then that's usually gives you the perfect distance over to that jump pad. Given that you're jumping at the end of those purple feathers like that you showed earlier. But anyways, you got this, charge up a spin attack for when to hit this bump as fast as possible. Then just hold forward and mash square to try to hit the egg as fast as possible here. And that's Falcon McFly. Skip. Alright, so we only have one more regular level, the Horizon level, which the Horizon level can be kind of tough, actually. There's a lot of stuff that if you're trying to be as fast as possible, you have to be pretty precise with how you're moving and aiming all at the same time. So you got to be kind of conscious of a lot of stuff. And it also has one of the newer skips, Blundy Skip, at the very end of the level to skip kind of like the final attack animation of the Blunder Jaw. There is some skip potential in this level. There is a few out of bounds that allow you to skip the level or go up and around it, but all of them don't save time, or there's not ways to clip back in bounds to get a checkpoint. But theoretically, just know that it should be, it probably could be investigated more, and there's a potential where I think you might be able to reach the very end of the level, and as long as you can shoot the canister and by the PS5 panels, you should be able to end the level regardless of what you've cleared before it. But just mentioning that now because it's definitely, I think it's definitely worth investigating this level more glitch-wise and out-of-bounds-wise. But for right now, we don't do any out-of-bounds. So we're just gonna go forward, straight forward to get to become Aloy. Now, something to just know about the bow here in general, like you're using motion controls here. It's a little bit, I like aiming the bow with the motion controls. You have better sensitivity, like you can flick between stuff. If you don't have motion controls on, the aim sensitivity is super low. So if you preferred not to have motion controls on for this level, this is one where I actually would, in the first 2 weeks of the run, I would have motion controls off for the entirety of the run except for this level. But anyways, that's just a preference thing that you might want to try out, depending on how good your aim ends up being or not. Some other things to know about this is that you can spam arrows, which most people probably kind of realized, which you just like release R2. Don't try to do the same thing that you did in the Uncharted level, where you're mashing between L2 and R2, because if it detects that one is being held down, it will not fire, okay? Whereas in Dude Rating, it's as soon as you press down any trigger that it will fire again. So does not work the same way here, okay? Only mash one of the triggers. Something that you can also do is that if you want to avoid slow-mo being activated at all, because you know you get hundreds of reflexes when you jump up in the air, if you want to avoid that at all, you can spin, and the spin will kind of well, it will still activate it a little bit, I guess, but I use the spin sometimes to just like rapid fire without having to worry about slow-mo like activating randomly sometimes, but it's not like a big help. So yeah, I guess I think that's it in terms of possible tech with the bow. It's mostly just you knowing how things spawn, knowing the cycles as you approach stuff to not die to it, and yeah, rapid firing like a boss. So I guess let's go. So I killed that enemy, and then about let's see, about right as soon as you set foot on the wooden boards here, you're gonna pre-aim. What I do is I pre-aim at a certain spot. Oh, well, they already spawned. But the frog, this frog right there. Okay, I got a good screenshot, so hopefully we can utilize this. If you're running straight forward, okay, because I guess it's like you trigger it a few meters back, but they come up a few seconds later. If you're running straight forward in the direction that I did from here after killing that shock enemy, you can expect right here as soon as you touch the boards for this frog exactly in this position to rise up. Okay, so this frog you don't really need to worry about. But this first frog, his missile can be a problem. So what we like to do is we like to shoot this frog before it can get a missile out, and then after we kill him, we just beeline to the yarn and pull it. Okay, so in order to do that, just know that the idea is to get ready to pre-aim, try to aim the middle of your screen to be like looking in this direction of the frog, right when you kind of like approach right here, and then start rapid firing as soon as you reach the wood. So rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, rapid fire, as you're like trying to make some little distance on the wood. If you're really bad at rapid firing and moving on the go, then just spend a second with the slow-mo activated, like jump up, use hunter reflexes to do slow-mo and kill that frog as soon as he comes up. Okay, let me show an example of this with my YouTube video. Yeah, just like that. So you see, like I've memorized really well, like I hit the wood right here, and then I aim for kind of like, I aim for thinking, like, you see how there's kind of like a curve in the mountain right here? I kind of aim roughly in this direction to the left of that curve. Or if you want to think about it, by the time you like reach the wood at this point, you can think of the frog being kind of like in the direction of the corner of this wooden platform. But yeah, roughly, no matter how you want to think about it, either using the corner on the wooden board there to the left of this sort of like the architecture of the rock right here, or just kind of like being like sort of leftish of the wooden platform in the background and rightish of where the grass ends over here. You could use that as another indication. Lots of visual indications going around everywhere, all around. Those are just ones that I've used in the past, but you could probably use a lot of anything. But just know, I think the best one is typically kind of like slightly above and to the left of the corner of the wood if you're looking roughly in this direction and heading in this direction. But it can differ depending on how you approach this. So if you're a little bit more left or right, it could vary a little bit. So again, if you, biggest, most important things is try to go the same consistent path that you do every time so that you know where to reliably aim every single time. But if you do have troubles, remember that you can activate Hunter's reflexes like this. so that you don't have to like hesitate here, and you can keep your sprint speed up. But you can tons of reflexes real fast and then go for the yarn. Let's see if I can show that off a little bit more, maybe. Yeah, like that. It's good that this checkpoint here kind of lets you prepare for that a little bit, it seems. Yeah, like that. After you pull this yarn, don't pull it all the way to the left. Pull it kind of like, you know, like if you saw the wooden boards that we were on there, try to pull it in the back left of it, and that you kind of like fall in the back left. Try to jump out after you pull the yarn and you stagger backwards to jump out of the stagger. But that's gonna put you in the most direct position to head towards this. You want to head directly towards this ladder. You want to shoot it down as you're heading towards it, but you are going to head towards it. And when you do the jump towards the ladder, you have to be really fast because the frogs are going to shoot missiles at you. So the fastest way of doing this is just do a spin stall and then hover into the ladder. You won't grab the ladder if you spin stall into it, so spin stall first and then grab into the ladder, and then make sure you jump repeatedly, press the jump button up the ladder instead of using the climb animations to actually climb it. Skip those climb animations and just jump up the ladder. It should be 2 quick hops. Then after that, just know that the canister will be on the right side. It'll come up on the right side, and you do have to blow up that canister in order to open the door. Although you can skip the rope afterwards, but I'm kind of explaining a lot. Let me just show it off. So aim for that. Spin jump to 1 short jump. Sometimes it can be 2, but that was only 1 short jump. This canister, if you're fast, you'll see it come up right here, which you can kind of use this door as an indication. So this door, my camera is oriented a little bit more left than where I normally would have it right now, but so expect your camera to be maybe oriented a little bit more right, but essentially you'll see this door, and you can kind of see like where the cauldron door kind of like ends on the left and on the right side. This canister usually pops up right on the right side of where that kind of ends right there. So try to pre-aim in the direction of right here. But you do want to destroy this canister before you hit the edge. But if you do destroy this canister before you hit the edge and you keep your sprint speed, you can jump directly to where this door opens. But yeah, best thing in Horizon in this level for you to practice and get good at is try to shoot while you're moving, so you don't have to hesitate or lose your sprint speed ever. So, and remember, you have rapid fire. I ledge guarded there, so if you ledge guard, you're not going to be able to make this jump. Okay, you can just shoot this and it'll spawn the zip line. Sometimes I like to shoot it while I'm jumping over to this next section, but you can clear this whole section without spawning the zip line. So like this, and then you can do something like this. Oh, well, you can make it completely, but to avoid those shock enemies, I was actually trying to aim for landing on top of the red button right here. So like, hello. Invisible wall is there right now. Yeah, why is there an invisible wall? Well, I can't really show this off well, can I? Okay, well, just know that before you press the green button here, you can land on the side, like on top of the red button. You have to time it well because you don't want to spin into it, otherwise you'll hit the button. But you also don't want to overshot your jump, otherwise you'll run into the electric enemies. But typically you can, once you jump on this red button right here, you can curve around the left side around the electric enemies and then just continue forward without killing them. Otherwise, you can just Another method that I like to do is just when you reach the middle here to then shoot this and then jump onto the zip line kind of like right here. It's hard for me to show it off right now, but and then you can jump over the electric enemies. I will say it sometimes is worth killing the electric enemies from a distance like this because you do get a little bit of a boost and it's a little bit more direct by taking the zip line all the way instead of like as opposed to like jumping off, because you know you kind of like go in a stationary, you lose all momentum when you jump off the zip line. So if you can shoot it really fast, it probably is worth taking the direct path, but a lot of us do just run around the electric enemies, so we don't have to risk it at all. Yeah. I'm gonna pause the recording and get back here so I can show off jumping on this red button, okay? Okay, pause recording. Yes, Commander, I think Exilius lands on the button most of the time from what I've seen in his runs. I don't know if anyone else does it, but yeah. I don't like jumping off the button most times because it feels a little bit indirect and it's such a tight timing anyways, but it is something that I think is absolutely worth mentioning and showing off how it is performed in case people don't want to shoot the zip line at all. But I think the best method is definitely shooting the zip line. Shooting the zip line as you're going fully forward, and then being able to what am I saying? I'm losing my train of thought. No, what was I saying? Oh yeah, just like shooting the zip line as you're making a full motion forward, and then just landing on the zip line towards the end, and then either whatever way you want to use it, just jump around the enemies or shoot the enemies real fast and then do the most direct line. Either of those I think is pretty good. But yeah, I'll show off jumping on the red button right here. Okay, so here I'm going to show off how this section should be pulled off correctly by using the alternative method of jumping on the red button. Like I was explaining, I think the best method, for me at least, I think the best method is to shoot the zip line as it's as you're making full continuous motion forward, right as you land where that cauldron door opens, and then landing on the zip line, and then either using the zip line to jump around the electric enemies or jumping or shooting them early and using the momentum of the zip line to push you forward. But here's how you would do the jumping on the red button method. Oh, well, I'm a little bit slow there, but it doesn't matter. Oh no! Well, that was the right idea. And it's probably gonna spawn another invisible wall in front of me, isn't it? Yep. Ah, shoot. Well, I tried my best to show it off, but just know that if you landed on the red button right there, imagine that I'm standing on the red button right now. If I landed on the red button, you would just go around like this and clear out the electric enemies. Sometimes it's worth noting that you can change your method depending on where the electric enemies have spawned, because sometimes you can just jump directly over the electric enemies, but if you know that the electric enemies are right there on the edge, you might opt for standing on the red button and then just curving your way around them. But yeah, there's 3 valid methods there. You can shoot the canisters while you're using the jump pad there, and just do a direct line here. I do want to show off that for anyone that wants to glitch hunt, there is a way for you to go out of bounds over there. Just wanted to show roughly the direction that you have to head in, but there's like a hold on the floor over there for that. Not going to show off the out of bounds, but just wanted to mention it over in that direction. It's kind of like where that green patch is almost, and then there's a way to climb the mountain and deload stuff. I have a video on my Grat Dump channel, but just know it exists and can be explored further. Make sure you surface out of the water and then jump out. Jump at the peak of the door, because the cauldron doors, they open up from top to bottom. So don't just like sprint into the door, try to jump into the opening of the door, okay? That can save you like a quarter of a second if you do that way. Try to shoot this from right here. If you're as fast as possible and you keep your sprint speed, try to make a direct line here. You wouldn't have to worry about the tall neck stepping on you if you're as direct as possible. You're gonna spin on this platform here. You're gonna wanna spin in a circle formation when you're on this platform in order to keep your sprint speed up, okay? It's a small platform, but know that you're not gonna fall off the edge because you're spinning. And you're gonna wanna jump back left, directly back left, to try to land on the tall neck directly without using any other platform. So, like this. As soon as you reach the top, and reach the back. Sometimes you can reach the first bounce pad if you're good, but you're just gonna take the bounce pads up. That's gonna be automatic. And you reach the top here, turn the camera left, and keep an eye out for this thing right here. This thing is gonna turn around, and you're gonna need to aim for the red button. Now, when I started runs, I had to wait for the red button to go around, but now I try to keep my motion going and just rapidly fire when the red button sort of like comes around. So the plan here is to move forward towards the electric enemy and try to like spam fire towards this, and while we're heading toward the electric enemy. If we jump off the tall neck, we're gonna try and time our hover boots in the air, and then using hunter reflexes, the slow-mo thing, to shoot the button when we see it appear as we're hovering over, like right before the electric enemy, if we're late in the shot, like if we have a late cycle. So this is what it'll kind of look like. Didn't really pull that off as well as I wanted to, but you see, like, I could have used hunter reflexes right before the electric enemy if the right button was in place, which if you use hunter reflexes for only like a few milliseconds, it's not going to waste you a lot of time. But as an extra backup there, I just landed next to the electric enemy and just aimed upwards while trying to move in circles between that electric enemy and that frog. And then once you hit the red button, you can kind of like continue along to the ladder in the back, like move in circles around here, and then after you hit the red button, you can go around or jump over and go for the ladder that's like right there. But obviously, I think if the cycle works well, it would be most optimal for you to hit the red button while you're on the edge of the tall neck, but that's not something, that's what would happen if you don't get that cycle, pretty much. Let's see if I have another chance to show it off from the tall neck. So just spam shoot right here, like that. Okay, so I'm glad I was able to show that off. That's the if it works well. So both the method for if it works well and if it doesn't work well. I guess I should explain this since this is a tutorial. So I try to jump, so you're gonna use the rope physics where you're like, if you jump off when you slide down to the very bottom of the rope, like if you time the swing forward and the timing of sliding down the rope at the very bottom, you can utilize both of those momentums to get the most momentum possible out of the rope swing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to wait until I drop level with this ceiling that's right here. So I'm gonna jump off and I'm just gonna fully plummet down, okay? But then as soon as I feel like I'm level with this ceiling right here, then I'm gonna spin stagger into the rope. I'm gonna grab the rope around right here. It's gonna swing forward, By the time it swings fully forward at the peak, I should be sliding down right at the bottom. So then when that happens, I'm gonna jump off it and go to the third rope, skipping the second rope entirely here. Go straight for the third rope and then do the same thing with the third rope, where I'm gonna try and get the most momentum possible off of it. Be careful after this, after the third rope. The monkeys can mess you up. They can mess up your sprint speed, or they can mess up your landings if you land on them. So try to make sure you land precisely between them. They'll scatter off to the left and right side, so just aim for the between them and they won't be there. If you try to do a direct line to the slither things, one of the monkeys will kind of like ruin your path, so be aware of that. But here's how I do this. And then I jump to these slither things. Some people will die to these slither things, so it's worth shooting these slither things from where the monkeys were on that last platform. But what I like to do is I like to come directly to this platform right here. Then I aim directly for the right one before any of them can get a shot out. Then as these two fire shots, I move over to the right part over here. And then as soon as I know that I'm out of reach of their first shots, I aim for this one, then aim for the leftmost one. And I try to make sure that I'm just like zigzagging back and forth between this like back wall kind of a little bit, because once I kill all three of those, this wall is going to open up and I can go through right here. It's also worth noting that I do it on this side because an electric enemy spawns on this on the left side of this door. So if you like kill the enemies from right here or from over here, this electric enemy has a chance to just spawn right in your path. But if you kill them on the right side, you will always ensure that you can just sprint directly into the door and not have to deal with that electric enemy at all. So do something like this. And again, like I keep moving towards the right, even like I don't have as precise aim, so I'm missing a few of my shots, but it's worth moving to the right constantly. Never sit still with those slither things because they can snipe you pretty well. But yeah, that's about that. Take the most direct path over here. Now, once we get on the turtle, we're gonna start a 2-minute sequence with the blunder jaw, where we're gonna have to shoot it. There's a few strats in it, but just know that that canister is in view over here. So I'm wondering if there's, it's theoretically possible that if there's a way that you can reach that and shoot that from the distance. Obviously you can't shoot it from this distance, but these arrows do lob, and if there's a way like somehow around that you can get to it, you could probably end this level early, but that's only theoretical at this point. Like obviously it's like right there, and this whole ocean becomes like millions of miles longer once we once the blunderjaw spawns. So it's not like, don't think because of the blunderjaw sequence that you can't that area is farther than what it seems. But yeah, it's because of the ocean, it kind of makes it impossible to get over there regardless. So for this blunderjaw, he's gonna shoot his first shot. Actually, I forget which side it is. I think it's the left side first. So like, think of like, imagine his head like this right now. You know, the shape of his head, and he has his little nose and his little nostrils. Like, he's got his little nostrils and his little teeth, like right there. You know, imagine the first missile is gonna be on the left side of his teeth, and the next missile will be on the right side of his teeth. And then after you kill those singular missiles, there's going to be a canister to shoot under his belly. And all of these are definitely worth doing when you're rapid firing. Don't need to, especially on the first and second phase, you shouldn't need to really use hunter reflexes to aim precisely, okay? So left side, right side, and then shoot the belly. Some people like to wait to shoot until the canister pops out. Some people shoot immediately, like pre-fire ahead of the canister. Like some people think that if you can aim it for right when the canister comes out, it'll lock on a little bit easier, but I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like it's just worth spamming the arrows as early as possible. But do whatever method works best for you, or what you think feels best to you. Sometimes if you delay shooting beforehand, it does allow you to just mentally prepare the shot of where you need to aim. He's gonna start doing 2 missiles each time now. You don't have to destroy, you have to destroy like the first phase of missiles, but the second phase of missiles you don't have to destroy. I just want to point that out for all of these phases. So for these, you do have to destroy these 2. These 2 are, if you want a visual aid, think of the dinosaur like this. And he's gonna spew them out, like one up there above his nose and one there below his nose. So if you want to try to pre-aim those missiles, it's gonna be like that. Then this one, actually I forget what this is. I think, yeah, it's just the same thing. And you don't have to technically destroy those missiles, but and then for those I just rapid fire it. There's no real strats there. But I will say, if you start missing, like if you've rapid fired like 10 at one canister, you're at the point where it's gonna start, he's gonna start taking the canisters away. So if you realize that you've missed like 7 to 10 shots of rapid firing at a canister, go into slow-mo to actually ensure that you get the canister instead of having to go through another cycle of attacks from the blunder jaw again. But anyways, the last phase here, he's only gonna do 1 shot from his mouth. You want to, it's gonna be kind of like in a formation like this, okay? And all of these are going to come at you. What you want to make sure you do is that you are positioned on the left side of the turtle, and then the only ones that you need to fire at are the first one and the second one, okay? The 3 on the left, as long as you're standing on the left when they're fired, you can avoid them entirely without even having to fire them. And I'll show you what I mean. But by doing this, you'll give yourself more time to aim for the actual components, the actual canisters. So do this, then aim for the canisters, move to the right side. So as this missile gets close, move to the right side of the turtle, the back side of it, and that will ensure that those 3 left missiles won't hit you no matter what, okay? You do have to kill the first 2 on the right side, because those can still hit you on the back side of the turtle, but the 3 left are guaranteed to never hit you as long as you're at the front of the turtle when they're fired, and you move over to the right side at some point after they're fired. I don't know, you can preemptively move to the right side early. I don't know how early though. I will note, because Commander is mentioning it, you don't have to fire at any of the 5 and you can still survive, okay? If you want to time it precisely, you can have them move, you can move to on the right side of the turtle at the very last second and be able to avoid all 5 missiles, but there's been times where I've timed it very close and I've still gotten hit by a missile. So I almost always will shoot the 2 on the right just to make sure that that never happens. But no, it is possible for you not to waste any time shooting the missiles on this phase at all. But you might as well go shoot the first 2, because you have to wait 2 seconds anyways for the canisters to pop up after the missiles are shot. So really, you're not gonna lose any time even if you shoot those right 2 for safety. And then you're gonna launch up in the sky here. I always use slow motion for this shot because rapid fire never works for me really, but I wait until I start falling, and then I do the slow motion shot. And there we go. Now that we've finished that fight, we have Blundy Skip. Blundy Skip is gonna save, it usually saves 15 to 20 seconds. It's gonna use the same principles as Hyro Skip, where you're gonna ledge grab the side of a ledge and use that to give you extra distance to cross over to this next island. And the reason we have to ledge grab is because we'll trigger a cutscene if we land on top of the bridge. So very simple, I don't even know what word that is. Very similar procedure to how Hyro Skip works here. So the main idea here is anywhere that there is wood here, if you land on top of the wood, you're gonna trigger the cutscene with the Blunder Jaw, which it's gonna be this whole 20-second sort of animation where he's gonna like be like, I'm back, and then he's gonna shoot a missile and it's gonna fail, and then you just have, the only thing that you have to do control wise is to shoot the component under his belly when it pops open, and then you have to jump on him as he comes down. Know that you can shoot this component early, like halfway along his back, if you arc your shot like this. You can kind of see, if I arc my shot like this, you can see the impact of it in the background there. You cannot shoot it from here. We've tried a lot. It's very close. We've theorized that you can like jump away maybe and hit it, but the closest that we've seen to being able to hit the canister from a distance is by standing right there. So our goal is to stand there. But yeah, I just wanted to point out before I show this off that if you don't do Blundy Skip and you go through the whole animation phase of the Blunder Jaw crashing down, you can basically shoot the canister relatively from the distance of right there when you're on his back, pretty much, okay? When you're that far along up his back. But anyways, how we do Blundy Skip, or how I do Blundy Skip, I guess I'll do the way that was found first, okay? The way that was found first. This is not the way that I do it, but the way that was found first is that you go off the edge here, then you cancel off here, and then you kind of keep gliding over there and do another ledge grab onto the bridge at the end there. So I didn't get enough height, really, but I did get the ledge grab. And this is what happens if you fail the ledge grab and get pulled up. You can keep trying this. Like it's technically worth dying once, and then you can still save time if you fail this just once. Like if you trigger that animation and you jump off the edge like I just did, and then retry this, you would still save time versus waiting for the animation to pull through. I usually just let the animation pull through if it happens, because, you know, at that point, you could only save optimally like 3 to 5 seconds with the skip instead of the 20 that I'd normally save. So risking another failed attempt, I just let the animation play out. But know that if you feel consistent at this, it is worth going for it. You can go for it a total of 2 attempts before it starts losing time. But anyways, back to how I was detailing this. For this bridge jump, basically you can jump into this ledge right here, and then if you like spin out of this and then do a hover, you can do a hover into the side of this other end of the bridge right here. So you can do like a double ledge grab and then jump out of that ledge grab, basically either onto that grass or just on top of the bridge there. This bridge is immune to the cutscene. It's only this bridge right here. So you can jump on top of this bridge, or at least I think that's the way. But yeah, the problem with this method is that you have to have a lot of height and you have to do 2 ledge grabs. So if you're not very comfortable with getting the ledge grabs or canceling out of them, and it's hard for you to jump out of a ledge grab to get maximum height, this way can be hard. I don't go for this. way, but this is technically the fastest way to pull off this strat. Let me see if I can pull it off one more. Nah, no. So I just wanted to cover that, but now I'm going to show you how I go about this. So how I go about this is I jump along the line of these coins, then I do a little jump, I do a spin stall over the edge of this broken part of the bridge, and start hovering, and then just like with Hyro Skip, where I'm pointed forward until my boots, until I reach the peak with my boots and I start to descend. When I start to descend, I immediately turn my stick to the right, 90 degrees to the right, directly, to aim directly into the ledge here. Another thing to note is that the ledge here on this side of the bridge at the very end here, it's not actually at this corner, okay? It's actually, let's see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, okay. So it's not actually here. That is false. It's actually here. It's like halfway down the wall. This is where the ledge grab is. This will help you tremendously. So you basically, when you jump from this last coin, spin stall and hover, and then you start descending, you want to be aiming for kind of like right here, towards the bottom half of the board, not the top half, okay? The bottom half of the board is where you're aiming, okay? And then basically what you want to do is, if you're consistent with spinning out of the attack, of the ledge grab, I mean, it's best to spin attack out, but I find it more consistent to glide out of the attack, but you don't make as much distance. But we're going to cancel out of the ledge grab, and either with a spin or with your boots, you're going to jump over to one of these beams over here. You can land on this beam, that beam, or the one down below. The one down below is kind of hard to hit. I recommend aiming for the third one at the very bottom, which you can't really see right now. But okay, this is a better view. Okay. I would recommend from this ledge grab right here to aim for this right here, which you can't just like land here or land there. You need to land in the middle, okay? It's a very small area for you to get a foothold in, but know that you can like land there, you can land there, you can land there. You can land slightly there, but it's very hard to land there. So I would aim to jump from there to here. Now, to jump up onto the island, you can only jump up from the top one. So it would be fastest if you could go right there, but I doubt anyone's going to have the height for that. So if you do aim for the third one, which I do recommend again, you will just do a tiny hop up here, and then another tiny hop up here, and then do a big hop around the corner, and then once you land on the grass, you can shoot the component in the background. So, yep, that's the whole game plan of that. Now let me show it off. You do want sprint speed for this. Know that you will automatically, even if you start with no sprint speed right here, as long as you start moving forward, you will get sprint speed by the time you reach the bridge. So this is how it works. Then you land right there. And then you would shoot. When you get here, what you're basically aiming for, camera-wise, is for the center of your camera, for you to aim your shots basically at that little scaffold above the canister. Because your shots will lob down. They'll lob down about that much from where you shoot, okay? So if you shoot from right here, they'll lob down that much, basically. Roughly. You aim like up there, they'll lob down about that much. If you aimed at the top of this tree, it'll lob down to about a third way down of that tree, okay? So there is lob physics. I'm not gonna shoot it right now, so I can just provide some examples since this is high, kind of like on the level of Hyro Skip. I'll provide a few more examples of it. But what's nice about this ledge that's different from Hyro Skip, with this ledge specifically, you can spin out of it and you won't immediately trigger the cutscene. Like you can spin, like you saw on that last attempt there. You saw that I spun, like I spun out of the ledge and I still like went above the bridge, but I didn't land on the bridge. So it gives you a little bit of time to spin out of it and react and be able to activate your hover boots. Even if you don't like spin backwards, you know? Just a regular spin will kind of like help stall you in the air enough to activate your boots. So here's another example. Okay, that I was too short on. There, you were too short on. That one I was short on too, okay. But again, I'm aiming for that lower part of the wood beam. Don't aim for the top. You can aim for the top, but it's a lot less consistent. Or you, when I say it's a lot less consistent, you have less time to react of being pulled up. Like, there's less time after being pulled up. If you aim for the bottom part of the beam, I find it to be more lenient for you. It's almost guaranteed that even if you pull up, you have time to spin out of the attack or use your boots out of the attack without landing on the bridge. As for the other way, you kind of have to be very quick and precise that you jump out of it. So, I touched the side of the bridge, the board behind me. There, I just didn't get enough distance to clear it. So that is a hard part, is trying to get enough distance after the ledge grab. You need to clear a lot more distance here than what Hyro Skip requires. You're usually golden as long as you can get a footing on that scaffolding though. Like I keep dying over there, but I don't want it to seem like it's hard to climb the scaffolding from that third beam down to that second beam to the first one. It's actually pretty easy, and you can guarantee that you don't fall off if you get over there, but the part that I want to make sure that I detail the most is just trying to get that ledge grab, okay? If you do get over here, the way that you can guarantee is just like keep pulling forward when you're here, and you're guaranteed safety. You won't ever like deviate left or right. You can run into this corner, then just make sure you kind of like when you're ready to jump, hold a little bit to the right, activate your hover boots, and as soon as you activate your hover boots, start rotating back to the left. So, oh, not exactly like that. Okay, maybe it's not 100% free once you get over there, but if you know where you're aiming and you can kind of like spin into it, like hover and spin into it like that, you're pretty golden. So just try to memorize exactly where I'm getting my footholds here. Okay, so right here you can kind of see the corner that I'm running into, and you can land a little bit like where you see that little dent in the board under my foot. You can land there too. That's normally where I aim for. So this third beam is a little bit more lenient than the rest in all the spaces that you can land at. For the board above me, you want to be aiming roughly right here, okay? There's not really much visual cues to go off of right here, but know that, like, if this is where the crack is, and this is where the cross is, you're aiming for kind of like halfway between that, I would say, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna hover out of this, build up your hover, try to hover into the rock just slightly left of where the cross starts, and then spin attack into the rock forward, maybe forward slightly left, okay? But if you go a little bit too left, make sure you make sure you correct yourself as you start descending after the spin attack, and go forward right at the very end of the jump, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So like that, okay? You can make it all the way up there too, You don't have to do this intermediate thing like that. You can do this with single hops too, but if you want to make sure that if you've gotten to this point that you're absolutely golden, I'd suggest using the extra boot glide and the spin attack to make sure that you have a valid footing there, okay? But definitely know that there is faster ways to get up here if you want to risk it for the biscuit. And you can definitely get to the top from jumping from the bottom one here, so just using extended high jump with using your jet boots at the peak of your jump as you turn away. So like turn away immediately, jet boots, turn back into it. That is possible, but that's a little bit closer. And I usually prefer that middle board, but definitely play around with it to see what it's worth. You can land on that. It seems a little bit harder now for me, but you can land on that bottom board. Let the record just show, but I probably won't show it because I'm having trouble actually landing there. So let me just show another example of doing the ledge grab here from the bottom board, from the bottom parts of the board. Okay, or I'll just miss. Lovely. Get used to that turtle making weird noises if you're gonna practice this a lot, but let me see if I can yeah, there we go. That's where you would land if you're going for the bottom board. It's very, very, very small surface, but you saw I landed there for like a second. That I didn't even ledge grab at all. I'll show this off one more time and then we'll continue. Like that. And of course I have my controller inputs on, so you can rewatch it all the time to see exactly what inputs I'm putting at what times. But yeah, and then when you get here, you're gonna shoot right here, and you can just like rapid fire like that. And then boom, skip the cutscene, and you've successfully done Blundy skipped. So now we're going back to the crash site. We have just the crash site, the place squadrons go, and final boss, which I have notes for the crash site for right here, and for the final boss. The notes for my squadron level will be a little scuffed, because there's some that we know, like it's mostly a linear auto scroller. We do know that some things that you can do will make the level go slightly faster, a few seconds faster, but there's still a few things that are up to debate on if it actually helps speed you up or not. So I'll kind of like provide context on just what I do and what I think makes you go faster in that section, but we'll talk about that when we get there. For now, it's the crash site and the PlayStation panels. So there is an infamous fast skip here, which for some reason I can get often, but nobody else can get. To be fair, I'm like the only person that actually goes for it, because it's been shown that one or two times that there has been a soft lock if you try to go for it, and you have to restart this last crash site sequence by returning the title and returning to the crash site in order to resolve the soft lock. But I've done this skip over 20 times now, and I've never encountered the soft lock, so I'm pretty... And I've only heard of it happening once or twice over the last 2 months, so I'm pretty happy with going for it. But if you do get this fast cycle, it's this fast cycle clean on the second panel here. It'll save you around 15 seconds-ish. But yeah, so this first panel, a lot of people don't have a good strategy to how to clean it fast. It's the second panel that's going to have the fast clean. So I'll explain what I do for the second panel in a second, but for the first panel, some people like to just start at the top and go let's see, kind of like, how should I detail this? Let's wait until the panel shows right here, okay? So, panel right here, automatically the first position that, regardless of where your controller is, the game will automatically put the brush here. Some people will immediately go from that position up to the top left and then just kind of like zigzag from top to bottom. This is probably the best like general strategy that you can just do, that will save most of your time. But I do think you can do this part faster than that. That's just the best general strategy, but there is a general strategy to kind of like keeping your pressing R2 on and off very often as you're doing very quick, what's the word? Just very quick swipes back and forth. Sometimes it won't get all of the paint. It'll leave like a very faint color of the paint still if you do it that way, but it allows you to clear out a whole line of paint instantly without there being any slowdown affected when you reach big blobs of paint, which like the intense scraping, you know? But so what I typically do is I try to do an R2 press to bring it down right here. Then I start swiping a little bit left. Then I instantly release R2, then instantly press R2, and then swipe very fast to the left just to start off things. And then after that works, I kind of repeat that sort of pattern of like taking the brush on and off and then swiping really fast. And by doing that, it's a little bit hard to be accurate with the direction that you head in because of it, but it does allow you to clean pretty fast. I will say you should keep the brush on longer than shorter, just to ensure that you can get some of those tough patches out, instead of leaving them be like halfway transparent-ish and have to go back to finish it. So here's kind of like, it'll look a little messy, but this is kind of what I mean. I forgot that I use motion controls, but I was kind of using the example of using the stick, but this works. So that's still kind of messy, but kind of the idea of like bringing the brush in and out and then quickly like force it in a direction. Let me see if I can get the fast skip here with the panels, and then I'm gonna reload the level to show you all of this again, to show the other method. For this, let's just see if I can get it first. I did not. Okay, so the idea for the fast panel here is you're gonna, a lot of us don't know how it works still. We have theories on how it works, but I'll try to explain how I think about it. I think about it is you have to kill these 4 enemies pretty quick, keeping your brush on the PS5 panel to a minimum. You do need to keep, it seems like you do need to have it on the panel at least once, scrape off just like a little bit of paint, and apparently going as fast as humanly possible doesn't always work. But I always go in the zigzag portion of, if you deploy the brush either right on top of them or a little behind them, or kind of like you start brushing behind them and then you brush into them from behind, you'll instantly push them off. Otherwise, there will be like a little like 2-second animation of you being like, and then boom, they get knocked off. So to avoid that little like pushback animation, you can instantly hit them off from the back, or like brushing into their backside, okay? So what I normally do is I use that method to stomp them directly in top right, top left, then bottom left. And top right is usually the easiest to get, and bottom right's usually the next easiest. For some reason, it's a little bit harder to get the bottom left one. The top right one's good because you can just hold the motion control up in the corner and you'll always be able to pretty much get them, usually. The left one, you kind of like have to do partial motion control in the direction, otherwise you won't get them. But yeah, other things that are debunked is that if an enemy is targeted onto you and is trying to shoot you, we thought that affects this, but I've been able to get this fast clean with while the enemies are shooting me, so know that that's not a factor. But in terms of how I think this works, it's a mix of trying to go very fast, knocking them off almost instantly, and without having your paint, your brush scrape off any paint. Except I think you do need to scrape off just a little bit of paint. So if usually when it works is when I miss going for one of the enemies and I have to go back and hit them twice, and that usually allows me to clear just a little bit of paint because I have to hit them twice. So that's what leads me to believe that you have to scrape off a little bit of paint to get this to work. But largely you should just avoid going for the paint in general, because if you scrape off any more than just a little blob of paint, it kind of ruins this. But let's see if I can do this again. I'm gonna show the first panel again, but with using the other method of the zigzag to show as a comparison, okay? And we're 3 hours in. I swear these tutorials are taking longer I'm making them. Nebular 1 was like the fastest, and I thought that was going to be the longest. There's a lot to detail at the end though, I guess. Okay, so here we are. Let's do the zigzag pattern. And then you have some leftovers to get. That's about it. And then let's see if we can go for fast clean. Nope, didn't work. Which I'm gonna try this again because sometimes I feel like I've never been able to get fast clean with the zigzag. So we don't know if anything that you do in the first panel, when you're cleaning the first panel, affects how things work for the second panel for the fast clean, but it's possible that it might. Okay, so I'm not gonna do the zigzag approach again. I'm gonna do the approach that I normally do, where I try to do some fast swipes, even though it's a little bit more messy, but not doing it as well as I should probably, but right now, but gives you an idea of like how the fast swipes just work in general. And yeah, no fast clean. Okay. So something I want to show off just in general with the fast swipes. You might have seen it with the other panel, but you know, like if I press down, so to explain it again just real fast, I press down, I start swiping in motion, and then I let go. And as the brush comes off, it kind of like swipes across a big area as it comes off. But the part that like comes off, you can see is faded. Sometimes these parts you still have to go over. Like it still counts overall as like it reduces the overall percentage that you need to do, which that's what this board, this panel requires. It requires you to complete like 95% of the board. So it is possible to like clean the rest of the board and still have some of these faded spots. But basically think of like if I were to just press down on this part right here, let's say this part up here is like 5%. If I brush it just a little bit and make it fade. Let's say that there's 2% left there. That's probably a good way of thinking about it. So faded spots here is still like getting most of the paint, like over half of the paint, but there's still a little bit of percentage there left over that you like. If it's just a little blotch of faded paint, that's much better than just leaving a little blotch of paint in general. But yeah, just be aware that there's like these faded sections that you have to possibly go over if in order to clear the board. But yeah, definitely not my best examples of showing how you can clean the panels, but I think I explained that decently well. So we're gonna move on. For here, you can just hold R2 to screw in the screws. Don't need to lift up R2, you can just hold on through it. And there's nothing else major in the crash site. Next is Play Squadron, so I'm just gonna skip to that, I think. Pause recording. Okay, we're almost done. I was hoping to do some many percent attempts after this, but I don't know if we will. It's gonna be pretty. I can't believe it took us most of the night just to do half the nebula and the final boss. But anyways, this part's not really worth mentioning. Just L2 R2. L2, R2, so many inputs. So hard to do, I know. We need a tutorial for that. That's it, we gotta redo the whole tutorial right now. Okay, resuming pause. Alright, so after about a minute of cutscenes and just going through the rest of that section where you're just using R2 and L2 inputs, you're coming to this cutscene with Nebulax. The only thing that's worth noting here is that you can start holding square. Like basically once you see this glass, you can start holding square and forward and to charge up a spin and release the spin to break this glass as quick as possible. And then just keep holding forward and you'll naturally just land on the button to start the next cutscene. Okay, so just like this. And that's the fastest way of doing that. Or I should say that's just how I do it. I don't know if that's actually the fastest way. It should be. But I don't know if there's like a secret combination where it's like if you start the combination but then you glide into the glass or something. I don't know. You can skip this cutscene right here. There's a lot of unskippable cutscenes in the last minute that we had to do. But this cutscene right here, right after you load into... after you lift off, and you see these hyper beams in the background, you can skip this cutscene. Most people, there's a few people that don't know that you can skip this cutscene because it's not a long cutscene. It's only like 10 seconds or something. But yeah, you can save time by skipping this cutscene. So skip a D, and then that's when I usually split for starting this split. But we have Play Squadrons Go. So there's a few things here that definitely save time. There's a few things that are theoretical on if it saves times or not. We say shooting the aliens here at the very beginning. We think this saves a little bit of time, but know that roughly 80% of this level is an auto-scroller, and it doesn't matter if you shoot things fast. But I will detail the parts where we think it will save time. So shooting the aliens here, we think saves maybe like a few, saves like a half second or a second, but Just try to help shoot these aliens and shoot the ones right for the, like right there. Not the ones that are on the sides, but specifically the ones in front of you that are lined up for you to shoot them. And then shoot these guys, get a puzzle piece to spawn. I don't think that saves any time, but definitely those first 4 ones that popped out, like right in front of you, individually. I think it's those ones that you should shoot. But the jigsaw puzzle one I don't think saves time. None of this I don't think saves time, so you could either, you don't even have to like aim at them, I don't think. Now this will save you time if you can get the more hits you can get on it. One thing to note here is that you should flip your controller up, or to if you have motion controls off, to hold your stick forward to have the PS1 shelter you from the shots here. So you can see the PlayStation 1 is sheltered above in that pink ray on the right side. It's RNG where it's going to shoot pretty much, but he's going to try and shoot you, and if it does shoot you directly, you can use the PlayStation 1 bent forward to block it. But we want to try and get as many shots here as possible, because the more shots we get in, the faster this section goes. And I usually it's he goes left, back to the middle, and then right when he goes to the right is usually when I get enough shots in for him to die. I've heard that you can get him right here when he goes back into the middle if you are accurate enough. Okay? So you can save a few seconds there by being accurate and using the PlayStation to block the rays, so you don't have to waste time avoiding them and not have to even shoot him. So a few seconds of time save there. Then for a while there's no time save, I think. So we're just gonna auto scroll our way through this. Yeah, these meteors, I don't think there's any time to save here. There might be a little bit of time save you can save by when you clear out all of them later. So when you have the puzzle piece one, not just by shooting the blue one only, but as if you can clear all the meteors out faster at the end of it, at the end of the whole cycle here. So most of the meteors are just going to blow up instantly, but if you can clear out the remaining meteors faster, I think that queues up the next area as soon as they're all destroyed. Okay, so you can just like be like, I don't care for a while, but I don't think killing those guys saves any time. But you can act like it doesn't matter if you're very accurate here at the start here. But I would say definitely as it ramps up towards the end, you should try to have all of them blown up. So probably try from the very beginning so that it makes it easier to clear them out at the end. But yeah, I think that's one that wouldn't save that much time, but I think it might save very little amount of time. So it's interesting because this is mostly an auto-scroller, but there is a lot of strategy still put in place here, as you can see. You just scrape off a little bit of quarter seconds and half seconds, a little bit. You can't save any time here. Just make sure you don't die. It's easy to die here. Just watch the wings on your planes and make sure they're not hitting any of the things. Be careful, especially if you see both your wings broken, because then that means you're like one shots. And it is, trust me when I say it hurts knowing when you die on Play Squadron Go, especially when you have a good pace, you die on this level. So try to be careful, even though it is mostly like an auto-scroller. There's some times with some enemies shooting later that I think like not right now, but 2/3 into the level, enemies will come and shoot you. Actually, I think it is this next section, so be careful. The enemies can shoot you when they pop out and ruin your day. I'll note the part when you get it. Also note that you can collect the jigsaw puzzles, it doesn't matter, because the run will end before you return to crash site, so you don't have to worry about any 3-second cutscene delay from the puzzles. For this next one, this next strike actually does save a good amount of seconds, and you want to be aiming at the PSP at the left side, or I forget which one it is, but you can save some time by killing the enemies as soon as they drop down on the device. So like that. So make sure you're pre-aiming in that direction, and make sure you're rotating a little bit left and right, or left and right with the left thumbstick if you have motion controls off. Make sure that you're killing the 3 enemies that spawn on the left side, in the middle, and on the right side of that device. Okay. That's about it. Okay, it's this part where enemies are going to come out and shoot you, so this is the part where you can die very easily if you're not paying attention. I don't think you can save any time by shooting those enemies faster, but possibly could. Okay, PS3, you can save a little bit of time here. There's going to be roughly like 7 enemies that like jump out everywhere. You're going to just like with the PSP, you're going to zigzag with the PS5, but you're going to the range that you have to crisscross and zigzag is a lot bigger than it was with the PSP, okay? So, so try to do this as well as possible. It's a very short window, but whenever enemies you kill here, you avoid having to kill yourself when you land on the PS3 here in like 10 seconds. And also know, if you missed any enemies zigzagging right here, you can, you have another opportunity in like 3 or 4 seconds when the PS3 is like down below you to shoot, kind of like when it's in this position falling under you, okay? So you want to be aiming kind of like in this direction if you still have enemies on the PS3 after this part right now. So like this, aim down and a little bit forward, and you can see in the background I'm hitting the PS3. So that allows you to kill more enemies if you haven't killed them all. I think I did get them all. I did get them all. Okay, so you don't see any yellow enemies, so I got them all. And this last enemy will spawn once you kill the enemies. Well, actually, I don't know about that for sure, but if you didn't kill all the enemies, just do a quick spin attack to clear all of them, and then make sure that you get this guy to, you just go directly under him to have him go down directly, and then spin attack him behind him against his back, okay? Like that. And it takes about like 4 or 5 connections with the spin attack before you're able to clear it out completely. Here you can't save any time, I don't think. Although I still like kill these guys as fast as possible so they don't kill me. This is a part where they can shoot you, so be careful of dying here. I don't think any of this can be sped up. I don't think any of this can be sped up. I don't think anything else can be sped up for the remainder of this level. So we're just cruising. Yeah, just avoid the walls just because you don't want to die accidentally. I don't know if shooting those explosives early speeds anything up. I assume not, but yeah, that's one that I never tested specifically. I don't think it does save time, but here this is kind of like a long load. Doesn't matter if you're using L2 and R2 to boost yourself or not. It'll just take like 10 seconds for Nebulax to actually come out of the portal, or out of whatever it is he is. But this cutscene isn't skippable. This is a cool cutscene. I like this. But run forward straight up to this as fast as possible. I usually split when I get knocked back. As soon as I see myself get knocked back, I usually split here, but some people like to split when they first see Nebulax come out of his like little ship about 20 or 30 seconds prior to this. But anyways, we're on to the final boss, the final section, the final split, Space Bully Nebulax. So, basically, overview of how this boss fight will work is Nebulax is going to use a wheel that is spun, and you're going to basically throw a dart at the wheel to give yourself a random power-up. The power-ups range from the dog jetpack, the frog punching gloves, the balloon power-up, the magnet to grab together metal and throw it, and the monkey to grab metal balls and throw it at Nebulax. Any of those, so the fastest ones are monkey, magnet, or the ones with the highest possible potential and optimization is monkey, magnet, and then dog jetpack in that order. Magnet is definitely the most consistent, but it does rely a little bit on RNG. Monkey relies on a lot of RNG and a lot of skill to actually pull off as fastest. On average, I see most people save more time with magnet, just because most people can't pull off monkey as well as possible, myself included. Dog jetpack is very consistent. There's no RNG involved, but it is roughly 4 or 5 seconds slower than what you'll normally get on average with monkey or magnet. So, like, for timings, let's say that I've gotten 25 seconds for magnet and monkey to take. For a dog jetpack, that would be around 30 to 31 seconds. And then for the frog gloves, that would be around 36 seconds. So, dog jetpack, magnet and monkey are the two fastest. Dog jetpack's in the next 5 seconds slower. And then froggy gloves is the next slowest with an additional 5 seconds slower. The balloon power-up is by far the slowest, taking like around 50 to 55 seconds. I forget exactly what it is, but it's by far the slowest. You're losing at least 15-20 seconds if you select that power-up. So, like, you might be losing 5 seconds if you select froggy gloves, but that is much more preferable than balloon. Never try to get balloon. Which balloon is right next to the symbol for spawning more enemies. So it's nice because you can just avoid that, aiming for that section of the board altogether. But again, you have to go through 3 phases of this boss. So that means that the most optimal abilities for you to get over the course of this whole fight is the monkey gloves, the magnet, and the dog jetpack in any order, okay? And it's not the end of the world if you get the froggy gloves either, okay? So yeah, I guess let's show it off. I guess to note, you can kind of, on the first 2 wheel spins here, you can kind of just spam square to throw the dart as fast as possible. It does rely a little bit on your position, so don't try to move. Don't try to move yourself. But normally, most of the time, if you spam square, you'll get either magnet or the dog jetpack on your first throw. And most of the time on your second throw too, if you just spam square immediately as soon as possible. So let me show you what I mean. And kind of closest to the edge, not on the edge, but kind of closest, and then just spam square, and you should get dog or magnet. It's either a dog or magnet that you can consistently get on the first cycle. It will never be close to the balloon or the enemy power up. So even if you're a little bit slow on your spamming or a little bit too fast, like, it should always be dog and magnet, but just know that if for some reason it isn't one of those, it'll end up being the monkey or the froggy gloves. So it's not that, not gonna be that bad. So it's usually worth it to definitely spam instead of trying to individually time the square on that first, on this first spin, and also on the second spin, but that one's a little bit, slightly less lenient. Anyways, with the magnet here, you kind of just want to cover as much area. You want to start from one side of the PS5 mostly, I'd say, and then Essentially just try to keep an eye out on where everything's dropping. This will be a little bit RNG based, but even at the worst case of RNG, this is usually very fast. So my best advice for this is just kind of like start on one half of the PS5, and once you've collected like once like 2 or 3 balls have dropped down that you can collect from, collect them, and then start moving to the other side on the PS5 to pick up the remains that from the balls that have already dropped on that side. Okay, so do this. But if you do notice that a lot of balls drop right next to each other, so right there I just saw like 4 balls drop in front of me and to the right, so I'm gonna utilize that RNG to turn back over there to get those a little bit, but then I'm gonna make sure that I go to the other half of the PS5 to grab most of the rest of these, and then once I go from one side to another, I can start making my way forward, or again, deviate if you see bigger patches of metal somewhere else, but I'm gonna make my way forward, and by the time I make it to the front here, I should be able to throw it. Boom. Keep an eye out for that blue arrow. As soon as you see that blue arrow, throw, and you're good. Now, for every phase here, you can just do a spin attack and then charge up another spin immediately after you get knocked back, and that's usually the fastest way you can do that. Depending on what gadget you have though, because the dog jetpack, you can use the dog jetpack to hit the hands directly, and that's a little bit faster than the spin. I know that you can do that with the dog jetpack, but in most cases, you're just gonna do 2 spins back to back on the fingers and then on the glass. Also note that you can't hit 2 of these at once. We've been able to do it before with the dog jetpack, but even if you break 2 of the locks in one go, you know, two of these locks that are on the sides, if you do that, it'll just respawn those locks as if you never broke them initially. So you can only break 1 lock after every power-up attempt, pretty much. Alright, so now to the next power-up. So this is second phase wheel. We're gonna spam square again. We're gonna make sure we're pretty close, make sure we don't move after our bot friend pulls up, because you can change the amount of time it takes to get the ability. You could move closer to him, I guess. That is something to note, that you can move closer to him and you will get the dart or whatever it is to throw at the board quicker, slightly quicker. But just for consistency's sake, I tried not to move at all once our bot friend pulls up on the left side there, and then I spam square also on the second wheel phase here, and it will normally be dog. If you spam a little bit too quick, you will probably get the froggy gloves. So delay your spams just slightly, because delaying your spam slightly would get you monkey. Like most of the time it's going to be the dog. Like if you spam, it's going to be mostly in this area, but if you spam a little bit too quickly, you might be able to land over here in the frog. But if you space out your spam slightly, then it'll be much likely to be in the dog or in the monkey range here, okay? But yeah, depending on, you gotta practice your spams to see what's more convenient. Or again, you can always time it, but I don't have any strats for figuring out how to time this well, so and spamming right as soon as you get it usually means that this is kind of like the fastest way you can do this, so I like the spam strats. And there we go, dog jetpack, like I said, an almost monkey. So lined up exactly with where I was kind of saying. So dog jetpack here, what I like to do is I like to alternate my dog jetpacks from the left to right. There's no way to speed this up any more than what it already goes, pretty much. Just make sure you don't get hits. The only thing to note is that it's always 5 hits. So he's gonna swing down the sword 5 times, and after the 5th attempt, it's based off of how fast you hit the sword blade to when he's gonna go back up. So that's why I like to alternate from left to right. That way I can just immediately alternate back in the opposite direction and hit the sword as soon as he's done all of his swipe attempts down. But it is always going to be 5 swipes down, so once I see the shadow, I start moving. And then I was actually a little bit too quick there. But yeah, it's just, I like to go back and forth like that. I did have problems with this and I would die in the first few weeks of doing runs for this, for the dog jetpack. But trust me, once you practice the dog jetpack, and yeah, once you build up the most notions of this, it's actually very, very consistent. I say that as I die. Wow, okay. That's hilarious. And then this, you can start, there's an invisible wall here, but you can start jetpacking towards the hilt of the sword early. Similar to the monkey boss, Mighty Chewy. How you can, and like the Jenny boss, you can start like shooting towards the thing beforehand as it crosses over the invisible wall. So you can do something like this, and then we're just gonna do a spin for this, and then dog jetpack into the glass. You could dog jetpack both of them if you want, but the dog jetpack, I like to do the spin and then dog jetpack into the second one. That's what I prefer. Now for this one, you do kind of have to time. I don't have a method of spamming, or if you do spam as fast as possible, it usually will give you the random enemies one. So just know that when I describe this third wheel spin, I'm talking about where it will eventually land. Which, what I mean by that is that it's consistently will work where whichever power-up you get, he'll spin, Nebulex will spin the wheel one power-up past the one that it lands on, okay? Unless if it's the skull, the enemies, then he'll automatically give you the enemies no matter what. But that means that if we had it land on the balloon power-up down below, he'll change it to be frog. If we have it land on frog, he'll change it to be monkey. So if I say that I'm going for monkey, that means I'm aiming for frog, okay? Generally, frog or monkey, like frog is not too much slower. So, but we do realistically want monkey here, okay? But again, we just want to make sure that we absolutely do not get the balloon power up and we do not get the skull. So what I'm vaguely aiming for is to aim around this this position here, okay? Like if I accidentally get the balloon power up and it goes over to frog, I'm happy, that's fine. If it goes over here into the frog and it goes into monkey, that's the most optimal and preferred, but we just do not want it to be like over here and for it to be changed into the to the enemies. That would be the worst case scenario. So instead of risking timing it here, we just try to time it try to time it towards the end of the balloon and the start of frog, okay? Which we only have 4 slots on, so it's a bit easier to time this now, but yeah, you gotta work on your timing. But I think when I'm looking at the board, I'm looking at the balloon, the pink balloon power up, where I'm thinking in my head, now, 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 now. And I delay it slightly, just very slightly after I say now. And it'll usually go to the frog power-up, the one right after the balloon power-up. So hopefully that makes sense to how I treat that, but... And we got monkey, so yay. So monkey, the way monkey works is he's gonna shoot little metal balls down on the PS5. About 10 or 20% of the metal balls that he shoots will actually stay on the PS5, and you can go find them, pick them up, and throw them back at him. You can actually pick up any of the shots that he shoots on top of the PS5, okay? So, what you can do is that if you grab them let me try to draw this out. If you grab them, like if he has this little circle of showing where they're gonna drop. If he shoots them and they land here, after they bounce off, you can grab them out of the air. I think you can grab them before they hit the ground too, but I always plan on trying to grab them after they hit the ground. But yeah, you can, a lot of them that would normally go off the edge, you can grab them before they go off the edge if you grab them right as they make impact with the ground or right after, and throw them at that. So if you get really good at that, you can kind of do this fight extremely fast. There's a lot of times when it's hard to pick them up out of midair though, so I haven't seen anyone do this fully optimal yet with Monkey. One other thing to note is that it's usually worth jumping before you start trying to grab the balls, because if you're mashing L2 and R2 while you're on the ground, your Monkey is just going to slam the ground instead of trying to pick up the balls. So jumping around the balls is going to allow you the opportunity to keep moving and moving towards them and pick them up and out of the air without you accidentally hitting the floor instead. Okay, so yeah, that's about that. I don't know if there's anything else to mention. I guess I'll just show it off. Yeah, just show it off. Oh yeah, be careful, because you're getting so close to these things. Like you can see that these the projectiles for these balls are going to be coming in like this, and in order to catch any of them, you kind of like have to be within this sort of radius of them. You are very close, where you have to be like kind of like within this radius and have you know, like if this is you, Astro Bot, you're trying to aim your, like when you press L2, you're trying to aim for reaching in this spot ahead of you, or if you press R2, you're trying to aim to catch something on the right side of you like this. You're not just instantly trying to aim for something just overall in front of you, right? Your left hand is a little bit slightly forward to the left. Your right hand's a little bit slowly forward to the right. So whenever you are trying to catch something, make sure you're not standing right under where it is or like right behind. Try to make sure you're either positioned to the back right and you use your left hand, or you're positioned to the back left and you use your right hand. If you're very adaptive, you can make sure that you're positioned between two. You jump up, and depending on which order that they fall, imagine this one falls first and this one imagine falls second, you can time getting the first one, and then as you start descending, using your right hand to get the second one, without even having to worry about moving between position to position. But yeah, do be careful about your positioning when you're trying to grab, and be careful not to die. Definitely has happened to me quite a bit before, so. And that's about that though. This one you just do another spin, and then that's that. I'm not gonna cover the frog punches. The frog punches are pretty, you know, pretty typical. There's no real stretch with the frog punches. Just kind of make sure you use the spin attacks, you know, just like how we used with the Wako Taco boss. Make sure you use those spin attacks right at the end of the shockwaves on the ground, for the 2 times that you hit it, and then as soon as those red eyes spawn in front, just try to grab them instantly, pull back, and remember that you don't have to release forward on the left stick when you pull those back. You just keep holding back, and then the game will do the rest. But anyways, that's that. And we just have this last section, which this last section, I think I forget what I normally have it timed at, but I think it's 36 seconds as soon as you skip that cutscene before time is stopped. But it doesn't really matter what you do here. Again, similar to how I described the meteors, you want to make sure that just the last object is destroyed as fast as possible. So in order to do that, you probably should be trying to make sure all the objects before that is being cleared as fast as possible. Because you're not going to be able to clear out 3 objects in the air at once at the end. But yeah, it does matter how fast you clear at the end, but until then it doesn't matter. So it's always this bird, the trunk of funk bird, I think it is, that is the last obstacle. And then he'll bring out the pirate ship. You'll shoot the pirate ship in a straight line. And then there you go, then you aim down. You can only do this, you can do this with just one trigger, by the way. You don't have to hold both triggers, so that allows you to hover your hand over like the spacebar to split and end your time precisely at the right moment that it needs to be. But time ends as soon as you see the big pink flash from the center, okay? So no strategies here, just make sure you're lined up and let her rip. And split. And that is the run. GG's. Only took us 15 hours of tutorial teaching to get us here, huh? Oh, man. Which, you know, this is a great run, lots to teach. But hopefully this has all been helpful. Hopefully, because I've went into depth with a lot of beginner strats, a lot of alternative strats between world record and like all other top runners, and also going over a lot of stuff that's not used in runs currently, that might be used in runs currently. I'm hoping that this provides enough resources for people basically climb on board to the 80% drive at any level. Both at any level, and also give everyone a great intuition on like if you're just coming on board for the first time, how to like route in new things as new strats get developed over the next few months. Definitely should give you a good intuition. If you did, I don't expect many people to watch all of this in full. I expect people to go through this level by level in the sections that they need help at. But if you are somebody that watched this all in full, I applaud you. You are the master at this point. Oh, but that's about it. Usually I like to use the cutscene here, putting Astro Bot together and the credits as a celebratory run. I really like that we do end on the final boss, final blow of the boss, and we don't include the playable credits as part of the run, because I really don't want to drag this run out 10 more minutes than what it should be right now. But it is nice to use that section as celebration, because that's what it feels like, a celebration. But anyways, there's nothing to mention there. There is some, like, theoretically, if we did speedrun the credits, there is some very small strats there, but the checkpoints and the credits are very lenient, so, like, for 100%, it's nothing. There's a whole thing going on with 100% there. But yeah, I'm not going to keep this going any longer than what it already is, okay, guys? So I'm gonna end off this tutorial. I still don't know how I'm gonna edit this, where if I'm gonna upload the whole live thing, or if I'm gonna try to edit out some parts here and there. But anyways, regardless of how this tutorial ends up being put out, I appreciate everyone watching, and I hope that it's been very helpful. I do think that several parts of this tutorial probably will get outdated over the coming months and years, but I think a vast majority of it, especially with how I explain a lot of movements and stuff, will be relevant forever. So hopefully there's a lot of stuff that can be referred to always in this, in certain spots that we can refer to specifically. But yeah, always keep a watch out for world record, knowing what's updated with current strats, because a speedrun is never done. It's never fully routed. Even games from like 20, 30 years ago is finding new strats, so always make sure that you're checking the most up-to-date strats, checking the Discord, asking questions on there, and you know, just making sure you know what's part of the route and what isn't. Don't just refer to this video as being the end-all stuff, you know? And yeah, and the description of this YouTube video, I should be including a lot of resources. I should be updating those resources over time too, so make sure you check those out. Whether it's just to strat videos, or if it's to my updated route document, or if it's to com golds. Like, there should be a lot of resources in there, and I'll try to keep that updated no matter what happens with this run over time, over the months and years. So, and even if there's like a new up-to-date tutorial in the future, or a more precise tutorial that's not as long, definitely check that description. But yeah, that's all I got. All I got from me. Yeah. So get out there, get practicing, and you too can be rise to the top of the boards for Astro Bot. I wish you the best of luck and enjoy.